Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Ladies and gentlemen, the future governor of Hawaii, BJ Penn.
What's going on, Joe?
What's happening, brother? Good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
You're dedicated to this, man.
Yes.
I need a shirt.
You got it.
I need one. I
We
need
got
to
'em here.
wear a pen for governor.
Thank you.
If I wear it in Hawaii, will I get mugged? Will they attack me and duct tape me and throw me in the back of a police van?
They'll cheer you on, and then you got to tell them, are you guys registered? You make sure.
How
They'll
is it
love you.
going? What is it? First of all, what made you decide? It was the COVID lockdowns, right? That made you decide?
You know what? People ask me, they go, would you be running for office if this pandemic didn't happen? And I tell them all the same thing. I say, this is the straw that broke the camel's back. I've always noticed the problems here with the economy, how anti-business they are, how since I was in high school, we've always been in last place, our education, you know? So, yeah.
When you say anti-business, like how are they anti-business? What do they do?
As far as with the regulations, it takes so long. You know, you go to the planning department and they hold you up for another 8 months, and it's just, you know, the taxes are so high. We got the highest state income tax. And,
What is the state income tax in Hawaii?
what is? I don't got the exact number right now,
we'll
but,
get
but we
Jamie
talk
to
about
pull
that.
it up.
Yeah, we talk about that often.
Well, I think California is like 13+%. There's even talk there about raising it up. You know, it's a shame that you feel that everything is that bad, that you feel called to do it. But I know you, and I know you wouldn't do this unless you really felt like there was a need for change. You're not a guy that wants to be running the government. You're a guy who just doesn't want to be fucked with and pushed around. And when you see what you consider your people, your friends, your family, your neighbors getting their businesses fucked over and getting locked out of work and having regulations put in place to make it difficult to start a business in the first place. So what would you do different in terms of what are they doing? Like you're saying, planning and regulations. Like, what is that about? Is that about concerns for the environment because you're on an island? Like, what is that?
I don't know why they're just so slow. They're just so slow with that stuff.
Do you think it's just inefficient, or you think maybe they're overwhelmed? Like, what do you think it is?
I think inefficient, and I think, let's just take. I see this happen a lot when they start regulating something. I mean, here we were doing MMA in Hawaii. It got. You remember how big MMA got?
Rumble on the Rock, son.
Yeah.
I remember you put on your own promotion. That was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Come on, man. That was in the early days of MMA, Rumble on the Rock was classic.
That
man.
was something.
You had some fucking great fights.
We did. We had Tank Abbott. We had everybody in there.
You had great fights. As far as a lot of times, unfortunately, with smaller promotions, when they try to branch off away from the UFC, they can't get top tier talent. You know, you get guys that are on the way out, or you get guys that maybe couldn't compete with the best of the best. But Rumble on the Rock was the shit, dude.
It was.
How many did you do? You did 2?
No, we had a bunch of Rumble on the Rocks.
How many
actually.
did you do?
We must have did. I think we had 5 or 6 of them.
Wow.
But you know what happened? Elite XC came in, bought everybody up, except for King of the Cage. They didn't sell. And then they went down and they crashed everybody's car. It was almost like it was let's send these guys in to buy everybody and crash everybody. But
well, I think BJ, it just people saw money in it, because I remember those days. I remember people asking me questions. There was a lot of people asking questions. How come it's only the UFC? Why aren't there other organizations? Everybody thought it was easy, and then Elite XC came along, and that Kimbo Slice and those,
right?
They had some fun fights, right?
They did have some fun fights. I really enjoyed that time. But anyway, a guy shows up and he says, "Hey BJ, I'm here from the state. We're here to regulate you guys." And I'm thinking, after we got our faces smashed in for the last 20 years, now you show up. Now it looks like there's a little money here. Now you guys show up. And then they just tanked the whole thing, tried to do all these. You couldn't even give water to the amateur fighters, or you were paying them.
What?
Yeah, that's just how strict they got. Well, what's Ronald Reagan? Ronald Reagan's best line, me and Lorenzo talked about it. Ronald Reagan's best line, the nine most terrifying words in the English language. I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
So how do they stop you from giving water to amateur fighters? Explain that.
Right? They just walk in and they just said, hey, you guys can't have this. You guys can't be giving. These are amateurs. You guys can't give them anything.
You can't even give them
Bottles
water?
of water. You could even have that in the back. That's how
What?
strict. I think they just go.
So they have to bring their own water.
You know.
Do the fighters have to carry in their own
back
water
then,
personally?
Back then, I mean, it was just these were just examples
Right.
of how and you saw remember how big the Super Brawl was? Remember
Yes.
how big Egan
Yeah.
was fighting?
Huge.
Jason Miller,
Yeah.
Falanico, Robbie Lawler, Trigg, everybody.
Wasn't
So-
that where Vitor got his debut as well?
That too,
Yeah.
right? Against John
John
Hess.
Hess.
And Hess was pretty tough,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, he was. He had like his own system, right? Like SAFTA.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. The early days, BJ.
The early days.
The early days.
Yep, the early days. We know about, me and you, we know about, right? So
Yeah,
we know
man.
some history. You can't get far in martial arts, or I say many things, if you don't know the history of the whole thing.
No, but it's really been like an honor to be there early and to get
Right?
to see it and to see where it is now. For me, as like a fan, it's like I'm like a little kid, man. Every week when the UFC's around, I'm like, oh shit,
It is.
it's going down.
Still
I still
till
love
today.
it.
Yes, it is.
Oh my god, it's still the most exciting sport. You know.
No doubt.
When are you done? Are you done fighting 100%?
I'm done.
You're done?
I'm done 100%. And it was hard for me to get out after being in there for 20 years. I mean, that's your identity.
Yeah.
You know? And then I just kind of got into trying to be a father, you know, and I was doing that thing, try to be around more. And then all this stuff happened, and I find myself in here. But I do think all the blood, all the tears, all the sweat, all the ups and downs, all the good media, all the bad media, all of that was to prepare me for this kind of, you know. I see like everything that they're gonna throw at me. I can kind of see like, well, I kind of been through that.
Yeah. Yeah, the mental warfare. The mental warfare that a fighter has to go through. I mean, my God, there's nothing like it in all sports.
And you know, when I first decided to get into this, I was like, you know, I was just retired, so I wasn't trying to keep my everything, you know, perfect in public and this and
Right.
that. I was just running around I was just a guy trying to come off of a 20-year journey of being the baddest man on the planet. And then so it was tough. It was really tough to get over, you know, that identity. So as time went, you know, I was just living my life, some more ups and downs. I say, you know, sometimes I was judged fairly, other times I wasn't, you know, and
Well, BJ, when you were on top, you were one of the baddest motherfuckers on earth. You really were. You were a guy who went all the way up to heavyweight to fight Lyoto Machida. I mean, I remember that fight. Mm-hmm. I mean, you did some wild shit, dude, and you were strangling a lot of fucking people, man. And for jiu-jitsu guys, like for all my jiu-jitsu guys, you were the fucking man, because you were a smaller guy who choked out Matt Hughes, you know, who was so fucking good at the time, man. And Matt Hughes was a tank. When you
Yeah.
got his back and choked him, everybody's like, oh, shit.
jiu-jitsu's
Like,
back.
People forgot. They forgot those times, BJ. And, you know, there was a run like the Sean Shirk days, the Diego Sanchez days. You were a scary motherfucker, dude. You were a scary motherfucker. You were tuned in.
Man.
When you were tuned in, man, you were something fierce. I always tell people you have to judge a fighter by the heights they reached, not where they fell afterwards or the up-and-coming fights. You got to judge them by the heights that they reached. You like a guy like Oliveira. He's a great example. He's had some losses. He's been knocked
Yeah.
out, but you got to judge him by the height that he's
Now.
at now.
100%.
You got to be accurate. And then maybe he can only sustain that for a few years like Fedor could only sustain
Yeah.
it for a few years at the tippity top of performance.
Yes.
But you got to judge him from that.
Yeah, it makes me sick when people judge them by their worst performances, you know?
For you, your best performances were spectacular. You had some crushing performances. When you were training with Marinovich and they got you in tip-top Magoo shape, dude, you
Yeah.
were terrifying when you had that crazy gas tank.
Man, I did. I loved it. You know, one of the Marinovich. One What's Marinovich's?
Marv.
Yeah, Marv
Yeah.
passed away.
Yeah.
But Gary's at my house in Hawaii right now. He's training some football teams or something, and he has to come down, and it's great to have.
How did that connection happen? Because they basically changed the way you did strength and conditioning, right?
Yes.
Well, how did this introduction happen?
They, my brother met, how did I run into them? I forget how exactly, but I think my brother introduced me to them, and when they were just geniuses, man. And no matter how good you are, they were 50 years ahead. I remember we were at UCLA or something, and they had a little cone pattern, and they had me run it to see my agility, and Marv said, well, that's too slow. And the lady said, well, how do you know? And he said, because I made it up. These guys were just ahead of everybody, and they were the guys with the NFL Combine, and everything was speed, because he noticed that like the strongest guys who had the strongest squat, the biggest bench press and all that, they had the lowest numbers on the field. And then that's how we started to put in the agility, the speed, the movement, the reflexes, and going back. So they were really ahead of their time.
Yeah, it was wild to watch, man. They looked like they were torturing you.
It was, you know what? Looking back now, I see everybody, and I look at them now, all who eats the most at the buffet, the hungriest one, and that's the whole thing. No matter what, I'll look and I'll just be like, is he still hungry? That's the only question or does he still want to eat as much? Because literally a lot of these guys, they haven't ate filet mignon before, they haven't ate lobster, and they're still thinking about what that's going to taste like when they finally get the opportunity to buy that for their family.
Yeah, there's like a balance, right, of how long you can maintain that hunger.
Yes.
How long can you maintain that ferocity?
Yep. It has nothing to do with who's the best. It's who wants it the most. That's what it is. And that's what I thought about. I mean, I kind of knew that about martial arts. I mean, you go in there and you be right as quick and as violent and as intimidating as possible when you get in there. But believe me, I believe, just like me, even at my best, I'm like, what can I do to make the referee stop this? How can I make the referee stop this thing? Because you're nervous, right? The hero and the coward, they're both scared, but the hero's going to step forward.
Yeah, you were a wild motherfucker in your prime, brother. You were a wild motherfucker. You were fun to watch. The Dean Thomas fight, there was a lot of fights that were like, holy shit.
Nothing else mattered to me in my life at that time than being the toughest and most skilled martial artist on the planet, and just fighter. I didn't consider myself a martial artist. I just thought of myself as a fighter. I'll beat you up.
you were certainly doing that, man. And so when did you continue that kind of strength and conditioning routine, or did you stop doing it after a while?
People start to fall apart and different ideas, and coaches start to fight with each other, and that's what happened with that stuff. Marv kind of went his own way, because as you get 6 weeks out from the fight, your boxing coach is screaming, he's got to spar. He's got to spar. And then the other guy's like, no, this is enough. And they start going, and then it has a reaction on you.
Let's explain it to everybody, because this is the two different philosophies. The Marinoviches believe that you already know how to fight. Mm-hmm. All you need to do is just get in ridiculous condition. Mm-hmm. And so they were just going to put you through that. And what did you do, like light drills other than that? Like hitting pads? Like what kind of stuff did you do? But no sparring, right?
But maybe not even pads. Just different things, speed, a lot of good stuff. We'd do ladders. We would do that water workout stuff.
And they thought that was more important than anything.
Yes, and it was very important. I will never say that it wasn't, And then on the other side, it's the same. People say, do you coach, do you train? I say, no, but if I did, I'll tell you what I would do. I would show up to the gym. I'd tell another coach that had his fighter, and I would say, hey, coach, can my boy get a couple rounds with your boy tomorrow? And then I'd look at my guy and go, kick his ass tomorrow. And then I'd leave him and make him go home and think about it all night. Because the physical act of fighting, that ain't the fight. It's the going home and thinking about it all night long. Anybody can get into a fight real quick in school, but when they say, meet me at the park after, and the whole school shows up, now that's the fight,
Or I'll meet you in 4 months, for a UFC card.
Right? Isn't that amazing?
That's when it gets wild, right? When you're planning these fights months out and everybody gets to know that it's coming.
Yes. But that's it. Sleeping with that's what it's all about. Sleeping with it, controlling it, internalizing it.
That was one of the things that seemed to weigh heavy on Aldo when he was meeting up with Conor, like particularly for the first fight. For the first fight that Conor fought for the title, when he knocked him out quick, it seemed like Aldo was emotionally invested in that fight. Because Conor had talked so much shit for so long. They'd promoted that thing for months and months.
Right.
And Conor was just disrespectful.
Grabbed his belt.
Nobody was ever like that with Aldo. Everybody always was respectful of him. He was dangerous.
Yep.
I mean, Aldo in his prime, in his prime, he was a bad motherfucker.
Yep.
That Chad Mendes knockout in Brazil.
Yes.
I mean, think of some of the Aldo's amazing. The Uriah Faber fight.
Amazing. Yep.
Dude, Aldo in his prime was a fucking wizard. Right?
Yeah, and it's amazing that he has the hunger he has today, still fighting.
I know. Well, he looks really good right now at 135. He looks really good.
Yes, he does. Proud of that guy.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's lost anything in getting down to that weight. It's just like he's doing it the right way. The fucking scientists
Andre
that can get people
Pederneiras.
to do that now. Those weight cutting scientists.
They're amazing.
You know, those guys they got it down to like every gram of salt you're going to take into your body and how much water and like.
Right. What is it? A calorie of a carbohydrate holds. They know exactly how much water each carbohydrate holds in your body.
When you hear those guys talk about weight cutting and they start breaking out notepads and writing down your exact body weight and how much you can take off, like.
Well, that's so you see all of that. That's when they ask me about what did you learn from MMA that you can bring into this governor thing, to this work, and that's what I always say, because I don't know all the answers that I'll be asked, but I got a team of people who do, and that was MMA, right?
Yeah.
We got our jiu-jitsu guy, we got our boxing coach, we got our kickboxing coach, we got our strength and conditioning coach, we got our nutritionist, we got our, and that's what it's about, surrounding yourself with the best team. I mean, you ask me, hey, when did you win that belt? And I'll say, oh, we won the belt on this day. Because it really is. It's always a team. And even you sitting here with the martial arts, right, when you think about it, you think about your sensei and the people who've helped you, build your martial arts game. And
sure,
it's a team.
Yeah, you can't do it by yourself. It's impossible.
Nope. I mean, you do get into arguments and you do say, hey, when the bell rings, everybody else is going to sit down. I'm going to stand up. But, you do, because the team argues,
Right.
Everybody gets into it.
But you have to have someone teaching you. There's no way you can learn. I mean, even if you're learning off videotapes, someone teaches you.
Yeah, everything I know, I've been taught.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I made up anything, but maybe somebody didn't show me some stuff, but it's already been done.
But you added your own flavor to a lot of shit, and one of the things that you did early on that captured a lot of people was your dexterity of your legs. They were like, oh, that's a big advantage because you have crazy flexible legs, and your leg dexterity, your ability to move your legs is pretty extraordinary. And when you would trap guys in your legs, you could see that to them, like, this was a new experience. I never
knew about that until I did jiu-jitsu. I never knew I was flexible, never knew I was strong.
Crazy.
I was kind of just a skinnier kid is why. So that's why I always say, they say, so what do you have to be, strong or flexible? And I say, you need both, because you can't have your leg on your face and you just have the guy push it out. You got to be able to lift him off of there.
Right.
I always say that you need to be strong and you need to be flexible. One or the other, you're okay. But when you got them both, you're dangerous.
When you would do a lot of wild band stretches too, right? You did stretches with like resistance bands.
I'd always stretch. I mean, there's probably some old videos where I could throw my leg behind my head.
Yeah, without your hand,
without
right?
my hands.
Yeah.
And I do both of them. I mean, wasn't a really cool thing to show people that you could do that, but I could
cool
do
for
it.
Jiu-jitsu people.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu people are the people that would be impressed by this. Look at this. Here it is. Watch this. This is insane. He just throws his leg behind his head without using his hands. That's crazy. People don't understand how hard that is to do. That's so hard to do. That's insanely hard to do.
That's funny.
But your guard, because of that, was so dangerous. Because
Yeah.
you could do shit, and you could sweep people in ways that like they didn't understand how you were using your legs so well.
Yeah, you know what? I would always like tell people like, why? Because I've been in those positions where like, are you gonna let him pass, or are you gonna do something about it? You know what I mean? And that's what it right. You're right there. You're in the open division, and the guy's almost ready to pass your guard in the final, and you're up by 2 points. And are you gonna do? That's kind of like how when I was fighting Matt Hughes, I'd never wrestled. I mean, I wrestled a little bit in junior college, but nothing like Matt Hughes. You know, we were jiu-jitsu guys. We always have that in our. It's hard for us to become wrestlers, you know, but everybody's like, how'd you get so good at wrestling? How'd you stop Matt Hughes from taking you down? And I just said, I just decided one day I'm not gonna let him take me down. I just decided we're gonna go out there. He's not, and that's what it is. And if I fall down real quick, I'm gonna get back up, you know. And it's just a decision.
Well, you always have bizarre balance. There's a video of someone trying to take you down with a single, and you're hopping around the ring with one leg, and they just can't fucking take you down. But it might be training footage. It might be inside a cage.
Yeah, I think it's with Kenny Johnson because I was looking at that GIF the other day, and so he was trying to grab my back leg, and
it's crazy. That's crazy agility.
Man.
Your balance and your agility in your prime was fucking fantastic. It was very unusual.
That was getting ready for the Shirk fight. Yeah, Shirk. He never really went for any takedowns, but I think he would have had a hard time.
The Shirk fight, was that before Marinovich?
Yes, that was before Marinovich. That was just me and Jason Perillo and my old coach, Rudy Valentino. I don't know if you remember him. He had the mustache. He'd walk out with me a lot.
What were you doing for strength and conditioning back then?
Doing I guess just lifting like bodybuilder stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just lifting bodybuilder stuff and training a lot though.
So it was just mostly just martial arts training?
Yeah, and I was training with Matt Linlin a lot. I was with Team Quest a lot. We were kind of going back and forth.
Because that was a destructive performance too. And Sean Shirk, like people forget, that guy was a beast back then.
He was a beast.
He was a fucking tank.
He was.
Holy shit.
He was. I hope that guy's doing great now.
Me too. I haven't talked to him forever. That guy was built like a superhero.
Yeah, he was.
He had crazy cardio too. Remember those bananas workouts that he used to do?
Yeah, he's the one who kind of made up a lot of them. Like, right?
And you know, before him, Rich Franklin. Rich Franklin did a lot of crazy shit.
Wow. So that's kind of, I could see that kind of go in that direction. I could see, you know what? Today's workouts are kind of built around what they do.
Yeah.
Right? I remember CrossFit kind of came out, and then they did that Fight Gone Bad for me. That was amazing that I was there when the CrossFit started. Just so happened up in Santa Cruz, you know, and they were living out of their garage, and they put it together, and him and his wife did so well. And they did so well that they're not together, and they're still good friends. That's how well they did.
But all that functional fitness stuff came about. And that's when Steve Maxwell was doing a lot of he was training Diego at the time.
Yep. This is what everybody does today.
Sean Shirk workouts. Yeah, this was back in the day, Sean Shirk was doing like all this crazy like rope work shit and plyometrics and all kinds of like wild strength and conditioning. And he was known for having this spectacular gas tank.
Who was that guy with him? That guy must be one of the guys, who figured this stuff out.
Yeah. I mean, they had it all broke down. And, you know, and now, like, basically every camp has something like this. They just had a thing on Gilbert before he fought Hamzat, and he was doing a very similar type of, you know, you do one station here on a bike, one station here, you're picking up and slamming a heavy bag over and over again, and they're just going through station to station, just like this.
I was wondering, I didn't get to watch the exact whole fight, but I heard Hamzat and Gilbert was a great fight, and I was wondering, I was waiting for Hamzat to get in there with one of the greatest fighters, and I heard it was just amazing. And Hamzat did what he was supposed to do. He stepped up and he fought. And Gilbert, of course, we know he's gonna fight and he can knock you out too. So amazing. Thank both of those guys for putting that on for us.
Yeah, it was fucking incredible. And you know, it's not a fight that a lot of guys were jumping to take. But Gilbert will fight anybody.
Yep.
Gilbert will fight anybody
without a doubt.
And that was a close fucking fight. I mean, that was a close fight. Gilbert had him fucking hurt.
Really?
He hit him with a big right hand. Like
Okay,
really cracked
when was
him.
that? Because I didn't see the fight. Was that middle fight?
I
Middle
don't remember if that was the second or the third.
But he
I
hurt
think
him,
it was
huh?
the second where he hurt him. Yeah,
Okay.
he dropped him.
Wow.
And they were in a wild scramble. Though that dude's a dog. Hamzat is a dog.
Right?
I mean, he gets clipped. He's just on you. Even hurt, he dove on a double and took Gilbert down. I mean, he's an animal.
Right? I mean, and to be not have that much experience in the big fights, and
Yes.
to beat a guy like Gilbert, I mean, that's saying something.
It's saying something. It was such a close fight. Such a close fight. There's a lot of people that thought that Gilbert could have got the decision. It was that close. But it was an incredible performance.
It was an honor to sit there and watch, I'm
Ooh,
sure.
For sure. It was wild. I mean, Gilbert's something. And I think he keeps getting better too. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I think he's better than he was before. He looked fantastic in that fight.
Good for him. Good for him.
But Hamzat's the truth, though. That guy's the truth.
That's an amazing division right now. You got Hamzat, you
Yes.
got Gilbert, you got Kobe,
yeah.
you got Masvidal, you got Usman, you
It's
got all these
great.
guys.
Yeah. And damn, there's this other Russian gentleman who's undefeated, who's fighting soon. He's fighting Neil Magny. God, I cannot pronounce his name.
Magny's a tough guy too.
Magny's a very tough
Yup.
guy.
And
Very
you got
tough
Leon
guy.
Edwards.
Yeah.
Right?
All right. I always fuck this guy's name up
Shavkat
because I've never called his fight.
Rakhmonov.
Or maybe I did call one of his fights. Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Okay. That's
I've been
him.
paying a lot of attention to his fights lately. Google some of his, if you can see some of his highlights. He's got like a karate style.
Okay, I remember seeing this those
Beautiful
Mongolian
kicks, man.
with the
Yeah.
with the hat, the Khabib hat.
You know, you think of a guy like that, you think of a wrestler, but this guy, although he is absolutely a good grappler, his kicks are fucking insane.
And he can wrestle too, huh?
He can wrestle too, but he's as a striker is where he really shines. He throws nasty kicks to the body. Just a really good striker, tough as fuck, and undefeated. But he's a guy that's like not getting a lot of hype for whatever reason. But I think he's someone to keep an eye on.
It's the
because
first time I've ever saw him. Yeah.
he's good. See, he's got submissions, no doubt. I mean, he's good at everything.
I wish I had a better guillotine. How's your guillotine? You got a
It's
good
okay.
guillotine?
It's okay. Yeah, but this guy's very talented, and undefeated. And again, I think he said on his Instagram that he's fighting Neil Magny.
Okay.
Is that what it says? June 25th. So that's a big fight. That's a big fight for me because I want to see. It's the same thing with Gilbert and Hamzat. Like I wanted to see that fight. You know, I was like, okay, let's see what happens now. And this is
Yeah.
one of those. Let's see what happens now because Neil Magny is the real fucking deal. That's a great fight. Neil Magny will test you.
Oh, yes,
He'll
you'll
test.
tell.
That guy's got cardio for days, right? Like who
He
puts
does.
up a better pace than Neil Magny? There's no breaks in a Neil Magny fight, right?
That's true.
That dude has
That is
gas.
true.
That dude has gas.
And he'll fight anyone. He ain't afraid of
Anyone.
nobody.
Fight anyone, and he rarely gets hurt. He's so talented and long. He's so good
Right.
at using that distance and that pace that he puts on people. He just stays on you and stays on you.
Yep.
He's nasty. So that's going to be a real good fight.
Hey, we've been around some of the greatest athletes ever,
for sure.
right? And tough guys too, and and just egos, attitudes,
Yeah.
humbleness. We've seen humility. We've seen a lot.
We've seen the rise and fall of people too.
Right.
You know? That's
Well,
the
it's-
thing.
We've seen the hunger and and when you get full,
Yeah.
you just wait.
Yeah. And then there's some guys who just like, for whatever reason, can sustain for a long time. Like Jim Miller.
Yeah.
Right? Jim
What,
Miller
even
going
Clay
strong.
Guida, even
Clay Guida
Clay,
going strong.
right?
Going strong.
How is that possible?
I mean, he got caught, but I mean, so what? That dude's nasty.
Yep.
That dude he fought is nasty.
yeah.
He just got caught in a submission. But yeah, how does he keep that hunger? Because he just won his last fight by submission, choked out a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
One of my best buddies, Leo Santos.
Dude, he's been doing it forever. Clay Guida has been
and-
doing it forever, but he still loves it.
Yep.
What keeps those guys going? Some guys, like Randy was going deep into his 40s.
Right. Where is what is the hunger for Clay? You ask. He just loves it. Well,
just
gotta
loves
be.
it.
Some guys just love it.
He's just an animal.
You don't need hunger. Some guys don't need hunger to go to the buffet. They just walk right in.
They just want to eat all the time. Yeah, I don't know. Some guys just love it, and they can endure. It's very interesting. It's
Very.
like, and for a fighter, one of the most difficult decisions I would imagine is knowing when to get out.
I had the hardest time, you know. I had the hardest time. You know, I saved my money. You know, I did businesses, and I just had the hardest time walking away from that attention, you know, from the attention of the toughest man in the world attention.
Right.
You know, it's not from the TV. It's not. It's, hey, I want to be the toughest. And when you are champion, and Matt Hughes told me about this. He said, you can't wait to get rid of that belt because you can't wait.
Yeah.
But as soon as it's gone, you're like, hey, where is it? Wait, I'm the toughest guy in the world to get. Where is it? And you're looking, you know, and I everybody's had to deal with it. I mean, Anderson, me, you know, Matt, and
Anderson is another guy that I say you got to judge him by his prime.
Yeah.
You got to judge him by those few years
By
when
his
he was
10
a wizard.
How many defenses
He was a magician.
was it, right? How many defenses?
And it was the way he was doing it, like the Vitor one with the front kick to the face.
Right, and the Forest one. I'm in the back.
Oh my God!
With all my adrenaline going, trying to get ready to go fight Florian, and here comes. He walks out, and in 1 minute he starts. I felt like a minute. Anderson starts walking back. He just knocked out Forrest Griffin, and he goes, "BJ, it's your turn. Let's go." Just like, shaking my head. This guy's crazy.
You remember when he knocked out James Irvin? He stepped up
Right?
in weight.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was it? Off the kick or something?
Oh my God, dude, he was smashing people.
And Irvin was a beast.
He was a beast.
Yeah.
And that guy looked like a superhero.
Yeah.
Remember how jacked that guy was?
Yeah.
Anderson in that era would not be denied. That Anderson that fought Chris Lieben, that was
Yeah.
For those years, Anderson was scary. The
can't-
Rich Franklin fights.
Who's going to be able to compete with, put it all together and stay, right?
And he was just so clever on the feet. He set guys up.
Yeah.
He lead you into kicks. He would set guys up.
Yep.
But it's like there was a period of, I don't know how many years it was and how many defenses. You'd have to like go over it with a fine-tooth comb. But there was a period where you would look at his career, you go, I don't know who's better than that.
Right?
I don't know who's
And
better than that.
the timing that he had, I remember when he...
This fight right here is a perfect example. And Chris Lieben was just a
He's
fucking
a
savage.
beast, Chris Lieben.
I mean, he's just trying. He's trying to just, but he's just totally out of his league in this fight.
Yeah.
And we had seen Anderson fight over in Pride, and then really came into his own when he was fighting in England. Remember those, what is it,
Yes.
Cage Rage?
Yes. Wasn't that Anderson's first fight?
In the UFC.
Yep.
Yeah. But this was after he'd fought Lee Murray. This is after he'd fought a lot of guys over in England. He had some crazy good
Oh,
fights
that's
over
right.
in
He fought
England.
Lee Murray.
Yeah.
I forget what was
That's
his
where he
name?
really came into his own.
What was his Georgie? The one I think he fought Bisping. I remember one of his friends told me, what was the guy? He was in the UFC, the Puerto Rican one, George, which he fought Michael Bisping.
Rivera? Jorge Rivera? Yeah.
Rivera. It was one of his guys was telling us that he fought Anderson in Cage Rage, and he
Yes.
said he hit Anderson all his might in his face, and it did nothing, and that's when he knew it was done.
There's a video of that. It's a crazy video. Anderson lets him punch him in the face. This is it right here. And then there was also, like, remember that Tony Fricklin fight where he practiced this crazy upward elbow?
Oh.
And his trainer's like, stop doing that. Like, why are you practicing that? You're not going to do that. And so he made his wife hold pillows, and he practiced it at home.
Because he couldn't do it in the gym.
Because the gym, they wouldn't let him. So he starts practicing. And he's like, I'm going to knock him out with that. And then he went and just purposely set up that one technique.
And Fricklin, he's the kind of guy that could kill somebody. I mean, these guys are animals.
I know, animals. And he like practiced a technique on it. And this is it right here. This was where the Rivera fight. And Rivera was a powerful striker too.
Oh, yeah.
That's why that was crazy that did nothing to him.
Because what? Rivera hit top 10, top 5, right? He was there for a little bit.
Yeah, he was for a little bit. Yeah, he was definitely top 10.
I love seeing the old UFC guys around.
Yeah.
I love seeing them.
Anderson was something special back then.
Remember in remember when he would grab the neck? Nobody could do it
Oh,
like
my
him.
God.
And I think Anderson showed me this one where he kind of grabs around like this. So even if the guy's arm is in, if you grab like this, you'll just crush their
So
arm.
he's not doing traditional like this
I'm
with
sure
one hand on top of
he
this.
probably knows them all, just like us in jiu-jitsu, you know. But he was showing me this. He said, BJ, look, this. And even with my arm in, he'll just pull you right in.
Well, whatever he was doing it because like when he got a hold of Rich Franklin was trapped. Like that clinch, his plum was better than anybody's.
Right? Rich twice he beat him with the plum. And Rich was the best in the world.
Yeah, and again, Rich was saying he was one of the first guys to ever be like in super good shape. Like he had a whole circuit that he would do too. I forget who his coach was, but he was one of the first guys to when the UFC videotaped his workout sessions. People were like, what the fuck is Rich doing?
Rich told me, he said Tim Sylvia doing this to him is nothing compared to Anderson doing it. That's
Really?
what Rich was saying.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Right?
Yeah, you got to remember. People have to remember Anderson from those days. When you're looking at who's the GOAT, I don't think you really can say who's the greatest.
There's
of
no
all
such
time.
thing.
There's no such thing.
Right?
But when you look at the GOATs, you got to factor in Anderson when he was in his prime. Because Anderson, when he was in his prime, was just destroying people.
Look, he wanted to walk away. You saw it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you see how he lifts. That's what I was noticing too. When Anderson grabs your neck, when you go to grab him around like this, then he'll just knee you in your rib.
Yeah.
And break your rib. Look
Dude,
at that. You're talking about one of the
horrific.
toughest guys ever lying
Yeah.
on his back in pain right there, you know?
And the way he did it was like just precision. I mean, it was every step of the way, he was one step ahead. He just was striking him at will towards the end.
Yep.
He was a fantastic fighter in his prime.
Even when he was so good that even when he did get hit that one time from Wyman and went out, I thought he was faking.
That's crazy.
I thought he was faking. That's how good Anderson was, you know? I thought he was faking.
I think it's that thing, BJ, that you were talking about that Matt Hughes said. Because Matt Hughes said it when I was interviewing him after he lost the belt. He said, to be honest, it's a relief.
Mm-hmm.
He was really very brave of him to say that, right? As a guy who just lost the title. So, but to be honest, it feels like a relief. Like it was a lot of pressure. Like he was just being himself. He's saying, I'm just telling you the truth.
Yeah.
This is hard to carry this crown.
Get this away from me. And then it's like that ring on the Lord of the Rings. Where is my precious? And then we come back for it, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what the UFC belt is. It's that Lord of the Rings. It's the ring.
I think that's what the casual fans don't understand. That's one aspect of it that they probably don't factor in, is the extreme amount of pressure it is to be a guy that everyone's gunning for. It's not the same as any other athletic pursuit because the guy's trying to hurt you.
Yes.
You're trying to hurt each other. It's not just, I want to be a better baseball player than you. It's, I want to be a better baseball player than you, and I want to beat the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
And so there's like 100 guys like that who want to beat the fuck out of you because you're the guy.
In tennis, when you mess up, it's 50 love. When you mess up here, it's your ass.
It's the most consequences, which is why it's the most exciting for people to watch because everybody knows.
You know, going around now doing this new governor thing, I talk to people and I ask every question and they go, it's great for you to show your humility and asking these questions and letting us know that you need our help. And I always tell them the same. I say, hey, in the business I did the last 20 years, I can't fake anything. It'll cost me my health.
Yes.
It'll cost, if I go out there and fake like I know how to defend myself, I'm dead. I'm going to seriously get hurt. And I think that's just ingrained in us at this point. You know, if I don't know something, if you don't know something before you get in that ring, you better ask.
Yeah, that's a really great aspect of martial arts. Like if you don't know what you're doing and you pretend you know what you're doing, you get fucked up.
Yup.
Period.
Yup.
100%.
And I feel that when coming into this, I'll ask every question. I tell people my ears look like this from listening. That's why my ears look like that. Listening to all this shit.
Yeah, if you don't pay attention and you don't really look at what's real and what's not real in martial arts, you can't do it. It's not possible.
No.
You will never be able to figure out how to put a submission together. You're not going to do it.
Let me act like I know how to defend kicks.
Yeah. I already got it. I got it. Leave me alone. Imagine if you didn't want to listen to a Thai coach. Of course you'd want to listen. But we are all like a product of all the people who've ever trained with us, who have ever trained us, who have ever worked out with. We're all the product of each other. That's why great gyms produce great fighters too. It's one of the, iron sharpens iron.
That's the fact.
Everybody's on, you don't get that. It's always we, right?
Yep.
But it's you.
Yes.
But when that fucking door closes, it's you. And that's where it gets crazy, BJ.
Right?
That's
where it gets crazy.
Like in some of your bigger fights, I remember being there going, God damn, like just goosebumps and crackling, and I'm ready for it to go down. Holy shit. You had some exciting ones, man.
And me, when you're in that moment, you don't even realize because you're just there for that.
Right.
Right?
And then now, if you look at martial arts history, like if I was going to teach a course, like a college course in the evolution of martial arts, you're a chapter in that book, 100%. Because you were a guy that got really dangerous on the feet, but lethal on the ground too. So you were a great combination because you were strangling people, you were fucking people up at submissions, but you were also super dangerous on your feet.
I remember I was a jiu-jitsu world champion already? I might have been a brown belt maybe, and Javier Mendez was in San Jose. So I remember going there one day, and me and him just clicked right away. But he was like, hey, you want me to punch the mitts? I'm like, okay. And I punched the mitts a lot as a kid. I got into a lot of fights as a kid. And I started hitting the mitts, and he goes, you can hit hard. You could knock somebody out, BJ. You could be a champion. And I thought he was just joking. I just thought he was just being nice. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, thanks, Hav. And they were with me my first 4 or 5 fights, but that's kind of what got me in.
Isn't it funny that sometimes someone has to tell you?
Because
someone has to tell you, like, hey man, you got some wild shit. You could do some things,
right? And that makes them take the journey. And even Brian Johnston, he used to be with Brian, Frank Shamrock, all of those guys, Bobby Southworth. They were all with Javier Mendez at the time. And I remember Brian Johnston telling me, BJ, you can be a UFC champion. And that's when I really believed in. That's when I really believed it. I was like, this guy was in the UFC. He knows,
Right.
And that's when I kind of, Brian, he's had a hard life since. I think what's happened in Brian Johnston's life.
Yeah, did he get injured?
Yeah, he got injured, and it kind of left him with handicapped, kind of a stroke or something, just random something terrible happened. So.
This was quite a few years back, right?
Yeah.
Is he?
He's still going.
Around?
I don't know what he can do. I haven't seen him, but I love him, and he's one of the guys who
was
made
a pioneer
me
too.
believe in myself.
That's amazing.
So
It's sorry to hear about him. When people were just starting to tell you that you could fight in the UFC, what did you plan to do if you didn't do that?
I wanted to just be a jiu-jitsu guy, just have a jiu-jitsu school, and just teach seminars and say that I won the jiu-jitsu championships years back. Well, now 20 years ago 50 years ago I was the jiu-jitsu world champion, or just do That's kind of, I didn't know what I was gonna do in my life. I would see one of my older brothers who would just drink beer at the beach every day, and I really didn't know what I was gonna do. I'm so thankful and happy that my father ended up, Keenan Cornelius, his father, moved right across the road from me. He did a couple of jiu-jitsu lessons from Half Gracie. And his name is Tom Callis. I really shouldn't say Keenan Cornelius, his father, because Keenan came up way later, But he introduced me to jiu-jitsu. He kept asking my father, hey, could you tell your boy come down and come to the rec center and roll around? And I was like, no, I'm already the toughest fighter in the world. Don't worry about that. And then my dad's like, BJ, just go once. He keeps asking me, and if you go, I'll tell him you don't like it. So I went down, I got choked out, and I got arm locked, and then I said, with this, I could be the man in Hilo. I could learn, That's what I thought, But it was the coolest thing. It's just a never-ending thing. I don't train as much as I should now, to tell you the truth. Now that I've been doing this journey, going around the state, I don't
Maybe
train.
it would help you if you did.
I believe 100% because
If you could just take the extra time to train.
yeah, you know what? I realized this woman came up to me and she said, BJ, thank you so much for this gym, because we have the UFC gyms in Honolulu, BJ Penn UFC gyms. And I go, no, thank you for being here. And she says, no, you don't understand. I'm 60 years old, and for the first time in my life, I gave away my antidepressant medicine. And that's when it hit me. I said, that's what this is. So I
Wow.
always say, working the body heals the mind. And even before my father passed away, he'd had Parkinson's, and he'd get depressed and stuff and start arguing with my mom. I'd take him for a walk 2 blocks around the neighborhood. We'd come back, and he'd be right back in his routine.
Yeah.
The endorphins is God's antidepressant medicine, and it heals you. That's working the body heals the mind. I'll always believe that.
I am firmly with you. I think it can't be emphasized enough how valuable it is. When I take just a few days off, like if I hurt something and I say, I'll just take a couple of days off, let everything recover, I always start getting sketchy. Like I don't feel as good. And then I'll have one hard workout day, and then I'm like, I'm back.
Yes.
I can be normal again.
Yes.
I think a lot of
gotta
people
go
never
work
know
out.
what normal feels like. They never feel that. They never get to that point where their body is in shape and relaxed and healthy, and you just had a good workout.
And
that feeling
happy.
is nice.
You just
It's a
start,
nice feeling.
Your
happy.
face is like that.
Yeah.
You work out.
And and the fun thing about training is you're getting happy doing something that is a fun thing to do. So you get really good at it. You work hard at it because it's also fun. It's not just hard work. Like jiu-jitsu is fun.
And you get to think and have fun
Yeah.
and outsmart the other guy.
Yes.
The best
yes.
video game ever.
Eddie talks about it that way too. He said it's like a human video game. It's funny, like you're a guy who came up, like when I was trying to explain to Eddie, Eddie knew he was good, but I don't think he totally knew how good he was. And
Right?
we always were giant fans of you. And he was like, man, he was always like, God, BJ's a fucking prodigy. BJ's a prodigy. I go, dude, you're pretty fucking good too.
He is
Like, I want you to understand, like, you do something special. Like, your jujitsu is wild. Like, you got to understand, man. Like, there's a lot of people that don't like the fact that you connect it all to weed, but that's on them.
Yeah.
You just look at your jujitsu itself. It's something fucking special.
It is.
And then, he kind of realized it eventually. He's definitely realized it after he tapped Hoyler.
Right? Well, it's just those little talks and it's amazing the stuff that sticks with people.
Yeah, well, Eddie's just always been super creative. Like, he finds new, like, if you tell him you can't go that way, he's like, why not? Why
Right.
can't I go that way? Maybe I can figure out a way to go that way that you never figured out. And then
Right.
he'll figure out a way that might actually be better than the way we were all doing it before. I was like, there's certain things that as jiu-jitsu develops new counterattacks and new defense, you got to let them go with higher level guys now. Well, he invents like these new paths, and people are like, where the fuck is he going with this? Like, and then all of a sudden you're going to twist it.
And I remember watching this interview, and this lady said, that's the problem with school. They tell you that there's only one right answer. There's thousands of right answers. You can solve it 1,000 different ways.
Yeah. There's a
You know,
lot of
and I
different
believe
answers.
that. Yeah.
There definitely is. There's all these different styles. Some guys top-heavy style, some guys bottom style, a lot of guard work. You can do it any way you want. Just try to do it.
And it's amazing because now MMA is its own style.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, when I started, like I got stand-up and I had jiu-jitsu, and then I tried to learn wrestling. So you can call that a mixed martial artist. But now today the guys are like, they'll go for your leg. They miss. They come with the elbow.
Yeah.
I started noticing that when I ended up in the ring with the newer guys, and I was like, man, these guys are trying real hard.
Yeah, there's a lot of spinning elbows now.
Right?
I'm seeing a lot of spinning elbows these days.
Yeah. Who would have ever thought? We would have just wrote that off as a Disneyland technique.
Do you ever see Gaston Bolanos spinning elbow
I haven't seen
in
him.
Bellator?
No.
Oh, BJ, it might be the greatest spinning elbow of all time.
Really?
Yeah, because Gaston is a badass Muay Thai fighter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he's now been fighting MMA for a few years, but he's known for his elbows. He's known for his spinning elbow.
I saw that Prochaska one where he did it to Reyes.
Oh,
and
that's
Reyes
right.
being,
That was
being
another
as high
amazing
level
one.
as he was.
Yes.
I saw the GIF on the internet a little while ago, and I was like, that's pretty good.
That might be right up there with it.
Right, just because of the level of who
Yeah.
Dominic Reyes is, right? So what's going on with John? He's coming back
know.
soon. I want to see him. I want to see him in there.
See if you can find that. I think you got to think of the Yuri Prohaska fight. Yeah, he's fighting Dominic Reyes, who just had
A great fight.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh,
one. See, he's known for these spinning elbows. So this is him doing it in. This was in a kickboxing fight. He did it in Bellator. Sorry, it's all right. So this is, but you get to see he's known for it in Muay Thai, and then he carries it. Watch this, boom. I mean, for real, one of the best spinning elbows of all time. Watch this again. I mean, that is filthy.
He did like a roll. He did like
Oh
a
my
judo
God.
roll.
Yeah, he was just out unconscious the moment it hit. Look at that. I mean, that is phenomenal.
What? Remember when we used to fight back in the day, and we'd be like, "You got to get this guy to the ground as quick as possible." Remember?
Yeah.
But there's no saying that anymore because
Yeah.
the fights just keep going up and down.
And you take guys down and they triangle you. And you're
Yep.
like, this is incredible. You know, there's so many different guys are so talented now. It's like the talent pool has never been greater. There's so many talented guys.
100%.
Don't you think we need more weight classes?
I could say, well, I
I'm trying
did.
to talk you into it. I
Yeah,
like how I
yeah,
phrase
yeah.
that question.
Okay.
If you're going to be governor, you can't let people be
Well,
this sneaky.
What they tell me, why aren't you running for mayor? Why aren't you running for governor? I said the same reason that a lightweight fought heavyweight. That's the same reason.
Jump right to the top.
Yeah, no, but just to do something. But okay, as far as weight classes go, yeah, I mean, I could. It'll be a change because, like we say, we love the past, we love our golden era. But if you're sitting here saying we need more weight classes, and you're there every show and every day,
I think it'd be a pain in the ass for the UFC, but I think it'd be really good for the fighters. I
Yeah.
think they need more options. I think every 10 pounds. 10 pounds is a lot.
10 pounds is a lot.
It's a
You know,
lot.
it's
It's
still
a-
till today, I'm the only guy 55 and 70, just
Yeah.
because that weight difference is so big.
It's a crazy gap. Yeah, that's a
Uh-huh.
crazy one. 85 and 205 is another crazy gap.
It would be weird. I mean, you think, because the champions get lost in everything going on anyway, would there be more? Would it be like boxing where there's so many champions you don't know of?
No, because boxing has too many. But I
Okay.
think there's a comfortable
'Cause they're
medium.
every
I think
3
it's-
pound
I-
boxing.
I think it's 10 pounds. That's what I'm thinking. Every 10 pounds for MMA.
And just go
so you
60,
can go up
70,
or you can go down. Yeah.
50, 60, 70.
Yeah, something like that, or 55, 65, 75.
Yeah.
That might be easier to do since we already have 85 and 205. So
Yes.
then we just put in a 195.
65, 75.
And then you have more champs. You have, I mean, there's a lot of
There's not a
talented
bad
people.
thing. Yeah,
a lot of
you know-
talented people out there. And
Yeah.
maybe there's a lot of guys that if they didn't have to cut that extra 5 pounds, they would be way better because they wouldn't be depleted.
That's the worst thing you could possibly do to your body before you're going to fight the toughest person you've ever fought in your whole life.
It's so crazy.
Then starve ourselves to death and then let's go fight the guy.
BJ, it's so illogical and it drives me crazy. And it's one of those things that I think we're stuck with for no good reason. It's a bad tradition.
How did it
does-
start?
I don't.
How
I
did
can't-
the weigh-in tradition start from boxing?
Well, they know
fighting
They did it in boxing
Olympics.
for sure. Guys cut weight in boxing, and unfortunately, in boxing, they would cut weight and fight the day they weighed in.
But they
which
don't
is
do
even
it like
worse.
us, right? Because remember when Mayweather fought McGregor? Mayweather was like on weight that day, and that was like his real weight.
Yeah.
And McGregor was trying to cut 20
Yeah.
and put 20 back on.
That's just
Do-
because
do
Mayweather
we just
didn't
do it
give
wrong?
a fuck. No,
Or is
Mayweather
it-
just didn't give a fuck.
And the wrestler mentality that we have in MMA, a lot of mentalities came from a lot of different sports. We have certain part has a boxing mentality,
Right.
A certain has a wrestling mentality with the cut weight type of thing. Then you've got that jiu-jitsu mentality mixed in there. But was that a wrestling thing for us? That's ingrained in us. Like, hey, if you're gonna cut weight, make sure you weigh 20 pounds over the next day. Don't make that your real weight.
I think that definitely was prominent in wrestling, but it was prominent in boxing too.
Okay.
You know, remember when wasn't that a part of they thought Duck Koo Kim when Boom Boom Mancini killed him in that
Oh,
fight?
yeah,
They
yeah.
think part of that might have had to do with cutting
weight
weight
cut.
for the day of the fight because they would weigh in that day.
And then walk in the ring with
Yeah.
no water in their brains.
And who knows what they knew about electrolytes and shit back then. I
Imagine
mean,
how thick the blood was. I mean, you take out the water, you know,
Yeah.
how
Oh, yeah.
thick that blood is
Yeah.
just like pudding running through your heart.
Well, also they think that people who are dehydrated, there's like reason to believe they would be easier to knock out. They would be more susceptible to concussions. They would have less fluid in their head.
Right?
If that's true, that's
I'd agree.
crazy that you're allowing people to do that 24 hours before a cage fight.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. That is crazy.
Do you know how ONE FC does it? They supposedly have some sort of hydration test. And
Really?
they've supposedly
And you
made
can't
people
cut
move
low.
up.
You can't cut lower.
Yeah.
Okay.
They supposedly weigh your body and determine how much water you have, and then always make you stay within that like water range of like what a healthy weight is. I think I might be getting this wrong.
Yeah.
But I think
That
the
makes
point
sense.
is they do hydration tests, and you're not allowed to dehydrate yourself 24 hours. You can't like some of these guys are cutting crazy weight.
There's always going to be somebody that thinks like that. Mm-hmm. Like, if I cut weight, and as you get older, I know for me personally, I wish I went up. I wish I didn't go and do that whole 145 thing. It just emaciated me. I had nothing. Not only was I didn't have the hunger I had when I was a kid, but you just emaciate yourself down to nothing. And you see fighters like James Toney, he goes to heavyweight and he wins a belt.
Yes.
I think it is, as you get older, I think maybe it's a smarter thing to go up instead of down.
That's interesting. I think I think the problem really is just the weight cutting itself. I think if we could eliminate from the sport and make people fight at their natural weight.
As soon as they show up to as soon as you sign your contract, your weight right there that day, that's okay, this is where you fight.
I mean, it's a bad culture because it doesn't make any sense. If there's really this many fighters, because there's a lot now. There's so many fighters, so many talented fighters. There's talented fighters that are introduced into the UFC all the time that I don't even know of. And then all of a sudden I see him like, God damn, this guy's good. How long has he been fighting? There's so many of those guys now.
Right.
That
yeah.
I think there's plenty of room for other weight classes. I think there's plenty of room.
And you know what? If you are more experienced in this sport than me at this point, because you've sit there and watched it all, and you've got to look at thousands of fighters in doing this. And I'm with you. Then. Yeah, 100%.
It just seems like it would be more opportunity for champions, more opportunity for guys to fight healthy. And if we could get everybody to fight at a natural weight and eliminate weight cutting and have all these different weight classes so they have options to choose from, and then get yourself into a healthy weight that you're really sustainable at, and that's the weight you fight at. Fuck all this.
Yeah.
Get down, lose 15 pounds in 10 hours, and then put it back in with an IV. Get the fuck out of here. What are you doing?
And the IVs are actually banned.
And then they banned the IVs, which
is
they said that the reason why you have to ban IVs, I guess, is because IV...
They can hide drugs or something, right?
You can flush it out of your system.
Yep.
If you could dilute your urine to the point where it's not detected because you're just getting the IV
That's
bag.
what the bikers or whatever were doing, right?
They're so dirty, those bikers. Bikers are the dirtiest.
The bikers. Watch the bikers.
Isn't it crazy? That is the dirtiest sport.
Right? It's something like they have little motors in their thing without you knowing.
Isn't that crazy?
They're amazing.
Sneaky little motors in their
right?
bikes.
What's in humans to make us do that? We just want to win, or do we like being tricky and not letting people know? Which one? What is it? Right?
I think we're lucky that we're not bikers. That's what I think. I think that pursuit of just being the guy who pedals the hardest for the longest. Because that's what it is.
Right?
Right? It's like everybody can ride a bike. Everybody can steer a bike. It's not about like precision steering. It's about who can fucking go harder for longer.
Yeah.
So it's all just mind demons just pushing these guys.
Right? Mind demons. You're right.
And this guy's pumping and you're trying to fucking go and you're getting blood transfusion. They're shooting you up with tests and you're fucking... and you're doing it for days, BJ.
It's true.
Days. Mind demons. That's all in their mind.
Right?
The game's all in the mind.
The whole thing.
It's all how hard do you pedal. You back off if you want. If you don't want that jacket, you don't want to be a champion.
Yep, right.
Let's take a break.
Right?
Let's relax.
Imagine how much times they mess with them and do all that stuff.
Yeah, that's how you get a guy like Lance Armstrong. That's how you get a guy like that.
Yeah.
That guy's the champion of the mind demons. He knows how to fucking ride it out and go harder and faster and longer.
Harder, and just imagine that lactic acid in the legs, and you're just going.
It's such a dishonest conversation when that guy gets in trouble for it, because like, yes, he definitely, at least according to him, took some stuff. Still, everybody was taking some stuff, and he beat them all. He beat them all, and he beat them all for years.
Yeah,
they were all doing crazy shit.
Yeah. Did he come on and say that they were all doing? Everybody was on it, or
BJ, they found that when they went back to try to find people with Lance that competed with him that never tested positive,
it's impossible.
They had to go back to 18th place.
Well,
and that guy's probably just got that urine. He probably has that fucking bag of urine, and took a giant IV and flushed it out of his system. I don't know.
That is funny.
I think there's a lot of money in winning the Tour de France.
Yeah.
And when there's a lot of money and you're dealing with some shady characters, they go, hey, listen, I got a guy.
And in MMA, what I noticed, because I realized that people will admit that they cheated on their wife before they say that they didn't compete fair. Yeah.
I know.
It is what it is.
Well, in your era, to be fair, you were one of the only guys that was adamant about that. A lot of people just shut the fuck up.
And still till today, I say, hey, wherever you want to, I'm the only guy 155 and 170 that got both belts. But if you want to add this into the rankings, I really didn't do that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always say that till today. Yeah.
No, you really didn't.
And then I remember, because I didn't even USADA just came, and then we were gonna take in a glutathione IV. I never take IVs anyway, but I was like, okay, I'll take it. And then I told USADA, I took an IV, and then they busted me for it because I think they just wanted to show that they had teeth or whatever. But I'm really one of the only guys who didn't. You know what I mean?
So just using any kind of an IV.
Yeah, and
why did you want glutathione?
Yeah, no, we were just at a.
Were you partying?
At a place? No, we were at a. They were doing. What's that? Where they take all your blood and they see what you're allergic to for the food. That's why we were there, and the guys just kept talking to me to it. I'm just like, okay, whatever, go ahead. They kept talking to me to it. Shouldn't even have. Of course, you're not going to feel.
So he just talks you into a glutathione drip.
Yeah,
really?
You know how when you're in some place, right, and they just.
Glutathione, I think it's an antioxidant, but one of the things that I know it for is alcohol. It helps your body process alcohol.
Oh,
better.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a type of it that a lot of people take that are into this stuff, like doctors that know a lot about how to mitigate hangovers and shit. But it's liposomal glutathione, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
And you apparently glutathione in the IV form, the way you took it though, is the best way. That's the best way to get it.
Well,
most people that do that on a regular basis say it helps them, like people who party.
Okay.
Helps your body process.
Yeah. But I was just surprised. I'm like, what? I'm the guy that USADA's tagging. I really didn't even mess around ever.
Well, they were very strict, but I guess it changed a lot of things.
Now you don't even know who got busted, right? Don't they have to change so they don't crash the pay-per-views or whatever? Now they just.
Is that true?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Because I haven't really heard any.
When was the last time a fight got canceled because someone tested positive?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Right?
That's a good question. Like, when was the last time a big fight got canceled because someone tested positive?
Right.
That's interesting. Because the thing is, will we find out in 5 years that they were doing some shit and nobody knew about it?
Yeah.
Because in your day, in your era, how many guys were doing steroids? It was rampant.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it.
Yeah. And I think about that. I wonder, should I have done something to keep my career going? But it's just more of everything. You would have been more training, more getting beat up in the ring, more.
Yeah.
I'm just glad. I'm at peace with everything. It's hard to walk away from a career, but I really am at peace.
That's good, man. That's good because there's going to be other chapters in your life. If you don't let it go now, what are you going to let it go when you're 60? Let it go when you're 70?
Right?
Evander Holyfield just had a fight, man.
That's what.
He fought
again.
Vitor.
Oh yeah, he fought Vitor.
Evander Holyfield's almost 60 years old. That's crazy.
Yeah, and
Mike
Tyson just.
Yeah.
That
the Mike Tyson Roy Jones Jr. fight though, at least nobody got hurt.
Yeah,
that was a good thing.
That was the key.
That was a good thing
for Thriller and for them to make more shows after. I was thinking if they said that, hey, let's make sure not to crash this whole promotion in one. We can't have a 60-year-old guy be carried out of here.
Yeah,
either
Jesus
one of
Christ.
you. But he looked good though.
Mike looked good.
He was
I think they were moving towards. One day there was talk at least of a Mike versus Evander rematch.
Yeah, but then the Belfort thing slowed that down.
But the Belfort's, how old is Vitor?
He's my age at least, right? He's 43.
Is he?
Yeah.
that seems old when you compare him to a young guy, but when you compare him to a dude who's almost 60,
Yeah.
and Vitor is still very fucking dangerous
And
very fast.
and that's what's amazing about Randy Couture, you know?
Yeah.
You know that, right? That's what's amazing about him.
How about when Randy dropped Tim Sylvia, that inside low
Right?
kick?
Oh,
and
that was the
overhand
greatest
right?
fight I've ever saw.
Boom. You're like, what?
That was like the greatest fight I've ever saw for
Yeah.
a guy to come back and get that belt,
And Tim was so big.
right?
Tim was a giant. He was
Tim
a huge
was a
guy.
giant, and
Remember when
he'd
he
go
knocked out
with his
Rico?
belt everywhere?
Yeah.
Yep. And he hit Rico good.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That Tim Sylvia. See, again, you talk about a guy when he's at his prime. At
Yep.
his prime. You got to remember him at it. Go Tim Sylvia versus Rico Rodriguez.
Or Gan McGee, even.
Yeah,
Remember?
Gan
Just
McGee's a good
crushed
one
him.
too.
He's
But
tough. He was
he
huge.
was so jacked back then too. Like people thought of Tim Sylvia. They always gave him a hard time for being flabby. Like,
Yep.
but there was times where the whatever commissions you were
Would
at
catch him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you ever get busted for anything, but there was a lot of people taking some stuff. Let's just say they looked a lot different back then. But the thing is, like, the whole environment was that everybody was doing
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he did it, but I'm saying he looked like he did it.
No, I think he got busted a couple times, but
I think he might have. But my point is, it's like you got to remember him from this fight, because from this fight he was
That's a pretty good armbar.
Yeah,
I don't
pretty good
remember
fucking-
that.
against Rico.
Right?
Yeah, and he pulls right out of it. You got to remember this Tim Sylvia. This Tim Sylvia was fucking dangerous.
Yes.
He was a big boy with big power. Like, look at that.
at
Look at
that
that
one
straight
punch.
right. Dude.
look at that.
I mean, he fucked Rico up in this fight. That
Look
was
at him. Look, yeah,
that was a crazy knockout. And Rico
Yeah.
was a dangerous man,
Yeah,
too.
I
Rico
love-
was good.
Rico called me the other
Oh,
day.
shit, I mean,
we
look at that
talked
right hand.
not too long ago. Yeah.
Rico was fantastic.
He was Machado.
Machado,
black
Brazilian
belt.
Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Yeah, Rico was a bad motherfucker, dude.
Teligman, I remember Teligman.
Yeah. Didn't Rico beat Randy?
Rico, that's how he got his belt.
Exactly.
He might have even took him down towards the end, got on top of him.
How did that fight goes down?
Randy.
I'm trying to remember how that fight. How did I not remember that
It was
fight?
back and forth, and I think Rico finally took Randy down, got his legs. And I remember Randy and Tito. That was a great. Tito's coming down. He's gonna help me with one of my fundraisers. He's gonna be one of the featured speakers.
All right.
Because he ran.
Make
know?
sure you put that online.
yeah. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, for sure. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So he's all for it. Trying to
So
help
do
me out.
you? How are you doing this? Do you have to raise money for your campaign? Do you?
Yep.
Do you?
A big part. So just getting into it, I knew, I wanted to help. I wanted to come out and help, and I knew they went too far. They tried to lock everybody down on their island, like you couldn't leave certain islands. They were trying to do that on the airplanes, and I knew I'm not I know my record's not perfect and clean. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, do I really want to get into all this stuff? And I'm just like, I gotta do it. I gotta do it for my kids. And I always say, I don't want my kids to be older and say, Dad, you fought in the octagon for 20 years, but you didn't do nothing about this. You didn't do nothing when they were closing our businesses, when they're doing all this stuff. And that's kind of what pushed me out. And I'm just like, I know they're going to, I like to say, my strength is my strength. They're going to come and they're going to keep mudslinging and just keep throwing stuff at me. I hear they're doing it. They've already tried a bunch of things. I hear they're going to, old girlfriends now and trying to get pictures or do whatever they can. But, that's not going to deter me from wanting to fight for the people. It's not going to deter me from wanting to fight for my children and all of these things. And that's how I got into this. I know it'd be a lot cheaper and a lot less painful to just go do it some other way. You know what I mean? But here we are, and I'm in it, and it is nerve-wracking sometimes because this isn't my game. You know, I'm a fighter. But but one thing I know is I know Hawaii, born and raised there, been there this whole time. I've saw my friends, my cousins, my best friends move away because their parents just can't cut it on the islands. It's just too expensive, and I see the different problems, and I I want our people to stay in Hawaii, and I want us to have jobs. Hey, look, we're all in the center. Let's just tell the truth. We're all in the center. There's some crazy people on both sides. We're all in the center. We just want good jobs, good businesses, and we want our kids taken care of. We want our kids to get a good education. That's all we want.
Everything else is bullshit.
Everything else is bullshit. We're all right here.
Yeah, most people, the vast majority of people are good people that just want to be left alone, want to be able to prosper, want good health care available, good education available, want their children to have a potential for a good future. That's what everybody wants.
Yeah, I'm not here to cut everybody's programs. I'm not here to do anything psycho on any side. And we just want to keep living our lives. We want to keep our people here. We want to.
Let me ask you this, BJ. So if this magically happened, how much time have you thought about the actual job itself and like what you would do if you got into office? Like what would be a thing that you would want to like really establish very quickly?
Well, the first thing they say, the Republicans and the Democrats, I'm an outsider. I'm not part of either establishment. They'll come up and they'll give me problems. So
are you running as an independent?
They don't have an independent party in Hawaii because no one's made one. There's Libertarian, there's Aloha Aina, there's these different parties. And it was a tough decision to what I was going to run because the Democrat is so strong. 47 of the 51 House representatives are Democrat. 24 of the 25 state Senate members are Democrat. Our 2 state senators, our 2 congressmen, our lieutenant governor, and our governor, all it's a one-party establishment right now, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and I was thinking about running as a Democrat, just with my same values of, freedom, economy, and education. But here I am. I'm running for the Republican Party, and hey, it's gonna be a wild ride, Joe. This is fun. This is fun. Hey, they're coming after me. How
did you decide to become a Republican rather than an independent, rather than one of those other parties?
Yeah. Well, I Libertarian and all that was too much. I mean, my mother was in the Republican Party and always helped out with them and did different things. And I mean, right now, as far as, just everything going on, I mean, it seems like the Republicans are trying to keep things to, I don't know, I think a lot of time, was the 80s the height of civilization? Everything seems so normal back then.
I really genuinely wonder what it would be like if, how much different, if at all, it would be like if a Republican was president or if a Democrat was president. I really wonder, like, what causes things to go so sideways? Like, what influences are making government go one way or another? Like, to put emphasis into one thing or another thing, and to not recognize the complaints of the people, to not recognize when people don't like the direction that things are going.
Yeah,
it's like it happens on both sides.
It
happens Republican, like when George Bush was president, people were mad.
Yeah,
people were always mad.
I mean, I got into this because a buddy of mine that was a federal senator from Hawaii, he was pushing for that passport to step on the plane and gonna kind of landlock everybody on their island. And I told him, I said, what's going to happen if you pass this? Why are you supporting this? And he goes, you're just going to have to listen. And then that's when I said, oh, yeah, you're just going to have to listen because these guys forgot that they work for us. That's why they're there.
That was his actual answer to you?
Yeah, you're just going to have to listen. And
you're just going to have to listen.
And so then, and I say this when I go around. So my father's dying on December 30th in the hospital. I'm not vaccinated, so I can't walk in and see him. And I'm just going to have to listen. I'm trying to leave my business open so I can feed my children, but I got to close my businesses, and I'm just going to have to listen. And that's what finally made me stand up. And I told my brother, I said, act like King Kamehameha, act like George Washington, act like somebody fighting for us. And then my brother whispers in my ear, he's never been in a fight in his life. And I said, well, I'll just do this myself then. That's exactly how it started. And it's true. I don't want my kids saying, kids or any other kids, yeah, Uncle BJ, you fought your whole life. Why didn't you go fight these guys? And so I'm here. I'm here to...
Whenever a government grabs additional powers, whenever they start being able to impose additional restrictions on people because of like this health crisis, because they don't give those back. They don't want to give those back.
No.
They don't want to give those back.
And you know, it's easy when fighting for individual rights when it's popular is one thing, but fighting for them when it's not popular is a total different animal. When your best friend's girlfriend's sticking you the finger over the table and you're like, hey, I don't like what you're saying, but I'll fight for you to have the right to say it. You know, but it's just, how did they start taking things? I don't like smoking. I hate cigarettes. I hate being around them. But they walk in and then they start taking the cigarettes from people and then they look. And nobody said anything because it ain't popular to stand up and say, hey, let them. If a bar wants to put cigarettes in the bar, let them do it or whatever. And that's how they just start stripping. And even with TSA, God bless them for all the jobs that they create. You know, but that's another thing. That was a George Bush type thing that you know, they put these things, they don't give them back when they start to do stuff for us.
No,
you know?
there used to be a time where you could just get on a plane.
Yeah, when you could just get, you know, there's a policeman there and you just walk through that same family x-ray or whatever and you put your bag through. But now you got to take off your shoes. Now they got to pat you down. Now they do all this stuff. You know, there was times when you could walk into a courtroom where all the criminals are much easier than you could get on, you know, get on a plane.
Yeah, you used to be able to get on a plane with other people's tickets. Like you could give me a ticket and I could go on the plane with your ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember those days?
Yeah, no, yeah, it was. I mean,
yeah, with the ability to keep track of people now.
That's what we don't like.
That. Well, they can corral people up, and that's where it gets scary. And some people are recognizing that from the pandemic, and some people just get so political they can't see that it's a human behavior pattern. It's a human behavior pattern that folks that are in control of other people exercise. They tell people what to do, and then that's what they like to do. They like to tell people what to do. And they might be right about some of it. They might be wrong, but they want you to just listen. You're just going to have to listen.
Thank you. That's exactly. You're just going to have to listen to this.
That's crazy.
BJ.
When he said that to you, that's crazy. That's how a crazy person talks.
They listen to us. They work for us.
You're just going to have to listen is like a line in a bad movie.
Right?
You know, the jail guard. Why am I in here? You're just going to have to listen. Like, what? I can't believe this. That's what it's like. That's a stupid thing to say, but it's not uncommon amongst people that achieve a position of power like that. There's a very intoxicating thing about a man in particular, but sometimes a lot of women, you know, they get into a position of like extreme power and they like to exercise it over folks. They enjoy making mandates and placing rules on things. And, you know, you have to have this far away from that. And you have to, they'll decide what time liquor stores are allowed to be open or what time this is about. Like the bar must close by 2 a.m. even if it's not near anything. And
that stuff is contagious. I mean, you could tell your gym manager and workers, hey, don't police this. This is wrong. You guys, they just made a new definition for fully vaccinated. Stop policing the passports. Don't police the mask. And then they'll keep saying, hey, they'll keep policing it because that's their political party. Yeah. And it's just contagious that way all the way around.
You know how we know it doesn't work? Vegas. Because in Vegas, you could just drink at 5 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 1 in the morning. It doesn't matter. You could always do whatever the fuck you want. Yep. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
But eventually people settle into a healthy schedule. You don't just stay up drinking just because the bars are always open, just like you don't go into them in the middle of the day either.
Exactly.
It's like you find like that. There doesn't need a regulation for that. The less regulations, the better. You want to stay open? You want to serve beer at 5 in the morning? Serve beer at 5 in the morning. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
What is there, a magic time where you can't serve beer anymore? What the fuck is that?
Exactly.
Don't drive drunk ever. And serve beer whenever the fuck you want.
Exactly.
This is stupid. What are we, grown adults here?
And everybody asks me, so what are you going to do when you get in? Nobody's with you. None of the legislatures with you. I go, I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk right into the Department of Health. And I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they were confused. Maybe they weren't thinking in their right minds. Maybe they were scared. But we're going to go fix the Department of Health. We're going to put all the right people in. Or maybe they can work with us. Then we're going to go to the Department of Education. I don't have to go to the legislature to go do to these different departments. Because who's the boogeyman when you say, okay, put a big sign on the front of your building that says you're not going to police the passports and the mask. Oh, no, I don't want the Department of Health coming down. Well, I'm going to go take care of the Department of Health. They're shutting down these hunting lands. I don't want to walk in there. Well, I'm going to go to the Department of Land and Natural Resources. I'm going to go in all these departments, and we're going to make big changes. If the people want to, we'll give the people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they made a mistake. Maybe they're still masking the children in Hawaii because they made a mistake. So when I get there, I'm going to go in the Department of Education, I'm going to go in the Department of Health, and I'm going to go take care of all of these things. And I'm not going to talk to the legislature to do it. That's my area.
And is this all the way you're allowed to pursue these things? Is there a protocol that you're supposed to follow? Or
I'm sure there's
is it up to your
protocols,
discretion?
and we're going to have a lot of lawyers with us. And, like I said, it's going to be a big team. It's going to be a big team of people. I'm not here. I say join the fight. If I was 20, I would say, let me fight for you. And I'm going to have to fight for you while you guys are sleeping, but just join the fight. We're not here for the office. We're here for the people. We're here for our freedoms, and we're here for our businesses. That's why we're here. And I was so enthusiastic about this. And I said, people say, don't talk about it. But I said, no, I'm not here to take the people's money. The money that comes in from the government, I want to put it to programs, and I want to make this governor's administration as powerful as it can possibly be. And I want to, it's about holding on to that power too. I've only planned to run for one term because I'm not here to be a leader. I want to be with the people. The mana is with the people. We have the power. I want to be with the people. I'm only planning on going in for one term.
Can I ask you this, though? What if you don't accomplish everything you want to get done in one term? What if it's more difficult to get through the maze of bureaucracy? And
I'm here to work with. I want a strong lieutenant governor. I have the lieutenant governors that I see that are coming in. I want to work well with everybody and endorse who I have to. If the people need me and they say, BJ, let's do it. We need you one more time. Of course, I'm going to come and stand up for the people, and that's why I have no problem even doing this in the first place. I would have never had the life that I had if the people of Hawaii didn't support me the way they did. I would have never got to this success and all of these things. I didn't win every fight. I would come home with my face beaten and battered, and the people from Hawaii, the people of Hawaii would say, hey, you got to fight again, BJ. You can do it. You're our hero. Come on, let's show them. You can show all the kids, show everybody. Don't mess with Hawaiians, we can do this. And they've always stood behind me. And I got no problem doing this for them. And it's for our children and for everybody. So I'm just, I'm in, and they're going to keep coming after me. They're going to keep throwing whatever they can at me. And let's go.
BJ, you got to get together with Jesse Ventura.
Yes, I need to talk to.
Jesse
I had
the
him in
body.
mind, Jesse the body, and Hawaii's got so many different problems with our housing problem, our energy problems, now everything with the gas, and I really want to invite Elon Musk to come over and see if he could help us with Hawaii, because it's a landlocked state, and everything comes in off the boat, and you got everybody talking about the Jones Act. Do you know what the Jones Act is?
No, what's the Jones Act?
That's an act that makes all international boats go to California first before they come to Hawaii. They can't just come to Hawaii. This was made back when Hawaii was a territory. So all kinds of different things that a lot of different people talk about.
That sounds so inefficient.
Hawaii is the most unionized state, but our families all work in those unions. We're all together, so we all have to figure out how to update all of these different things and make them work properly. Do we just bring the boats do we build our docks bigger so they can take international boats, but just have our unions be the ones to take all the stuff off their boats, so our unions still, control the docks and not other people, not international people controlling our docks? Because of course we want our people from home. Those are our cousins. Those are our family.
Right.
So whatever, you hear all kinds of different stuff from, the big things in Hawaii right now, the housing, the rising cost of living, the education, and the rising cost of living is what's killing everybody right now, and we have no self-sustainability. You know how big the Big Island is. I believe we could do the right thing, and from Wailuku River to Waipio Valley, that's 50 miles water and farmland. And they're talking about growing 100 million trees for the climate. I'm saying every tree better have fruit on it then. Every tree better have food on it. You know, we're stuck, dependent on a boat coming in and out. And even more, we have to protect our waters. You know, all the water is held in perpetuity to the people of Hawaii, but we almost need to go one step further and make it a national treasure. I didn't say a federal treasure. I said a national treasure to the people, where you can't just start diverting waters and doing all these things. And I mean, you take half the water from a stream coming down, you kill half the life that was around in that stream, you know, and these are all things that I've seen growing up and that we have to think about, our sustainability. And sustainability, right? Sustain is you're staying in the same place. We need to thrive. Right. We need to move forward. The airplanes come in full. They drop everything off and they go back empty. Why? Why does that happen? That doesn't make any sense.
How much change would have to be done for Hawaii to be completely self-sustainable? Like what kind of industries would you have to put there where you never have to get anything off of a boat? Is that even possible?
Well, I don't know what we would have to figure out what we're going to do with petroleum, but that's why I want to talk to people like Elon. You know, that's why I want people who know different things.
You got a lot of sun, but I think solar in its
we got a lot of
form,
sun. We got a lot of sun.
I think solar in its current form is great, but I don't think it's really capable of running a whole city yet. You know,
we gotta. I don't know what we have out there. You know, we have to figure out. I mean, the gas is expensive. The gas is expensive in Hilo.
Yeah, gas is expensive everywhere. It's weird. I've never been able to understand that.
Right? It's like, did the oil disappear overnight? Where did it go? Where did it all go? You know, you want
somebody tried to explain it to me, and I glazed over. I was like, I can't pay attention to this.
Whenever we go to any of those, like, there's a lot of like speaking meetings, right? And I think, this is some real mixed martial arts. This stuff, because not only do you have to know what you got to do when you get in. Well, there's a lot of black and white stuff, and that's like freedoms or like basic stuff, and then there's state budgets. You know what I mean?
That gets gray.
Yeah.
Gray areas.
You know,
right?
that's where you got to have a lot of people helping you out.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right. Oh my God! And you must have, like, if to make bad economic choices could be horrible.
Oh man!
Well, you got to really make sure you make the right choice, and so you have to bring people in. Like, can we do this? Is this feasible?
Yes.
Like, that shit's got to be scary. No wonder why they like towed the line. Just like, they try not to fuck anything up. They probably have so many problems. Like, let's not fix anything. Let's just not fuck it up any further. You
know what it is? They're political entrepreneurs. How are they going to get to the next thing? How are they going to work their way all the way up to governor? You know, I'm lucky that I was in the UFC and that whole UFC is so big in Hawaii. If not, that's why they're giving me a chance with this name recognition. I talk to Dana. I say, hey, Dana, I got a good chance for my name recognition in the UFC. He goes, that's amazing, man. How can I help? So it's exciting. Lorenzo's excited about it. He loves it. And
that's wild.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited you're doing something that you believe in, and I'm excited. I love when a legend talks about that decision to step down and stop fighting. And I think that's a really important conversation for young guys to hear, because you're getting into this game, and you got to realize this is the most wild, crazy, exciting, but ultimately physically damaging game there is, other than maybe football, right? Yeah. Football players, they fuck each other up, just running full tilt into each other. But MMA is even more personal, even more psychological, because you know it's just you and this other guy, and then you set a date, and it's 4th of July weekend in Vegas, and your fucking billboard is outside your hotel window, and it's giant, you can't sleep. You know, it's what you guys have done, you know, is it's very, very, very extraordinary and very difficult to achieve that kind of level of success that you achieved. A small handful of them ever do in time. So for you to admit that it's very difficult for you to feel like for your identity to step down is very important for young fighters to hear, because they're going to know that this is a part of everybody's journey. There's going to be a part where now maybe if you want, you can coach. Maybe you can help young fighters coming up with your wisdom and your perspective. And, you know, fighters would fight very, very hard for you. like a guy to be able to train under a guy like BJ Penn. Holy shit, you get a guy, you get some dedicated guys who would be drawn to you.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's gonna be, the time in the cage is temporary.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you said it the way you said it, because I think that's very valuable for people.
And I want to say to all of those fighters out there, some of you guys are going to be the world champions. Some of you guys are going to make a lot of money. But let me remind all of you guys, MMA is not a career. It's an opportunity. And you go out and you make the most of your opportunity when you get that chance. And when it's time to walk away, I've had a very, very rough time myself walking away. And I just wish and I hope you guys the best for your guys' future.
That's a beautiful statement. And I love what you're saying, because it is true. And even though guys are doing it for a career, it is an opportunity, meaning it's a temporary career. It's not like being an accountant. You can keep going. Get thicker glasses. Keep going. You can keep working if you want to keep working, if you have the money, and if you need the money, rather. But for MMA, there's a window of time. And that's why I think it's so important to judge a fighter by their best work. Like I always say, I mean, I don't want to say there's a GOAT, but for me, when anybody tries to say anything bad about Mike Tyson, I go, there was a window of time where Mike Tyson was the motherfucker of all motherfuckers.
Oh,
like, you
I'm
don't
getting
know.
chicken skin.
You weren't around back then. From 86 to whatever it was, like 89, Mike Tyson was the motherfucker.
Yeah.
He was the motherfucker. He was the man. He was the man. He was terrifying. And you don't get it because you weren't around then. And you got to think about a fighter like that from that time period.
And how did he make you feel, right? It's not what they said, it's not what they did, it's how they made you feel.
Yep.
And he still can make us feel that right there. And we'll never, ever forget how he made us feel.
Yeah, never forget. Yeah, there's certain fighters that when they, achieve great heights, they achieve one victory after another victory, like you go, holy shit, I feel like I'm in the middle of history here. I feel like I'm witnessing history.
When Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock fought in the octagon the first time, and I felt like, remember that?
I remember that. It was
people
huge.
might think nothing of it today. You want to, Tito fought Ken, who cares, Ken? Hey, that was the two biggest. This was the guy who carried our sport in the beginning, and then Tito was carrying our sport now.
Yes.
And that was them. I'll never forget that feeling, watching them two look at each other in the octagon. My whole body has chicken skin over it right now. It was just, people they'll be like, but Tito just beat him up, Ken was old. No, that was two eras. That was an era and another era stepping in the ring for us to enjoy. And I'll never, ever forget that. Ever.
Yeah, man. Damn. Those were the days.
Hey, Jason Perillo, he always used to tell, hey, nothing more important than a fist fight. But it's going on.
While it's going on.
Right?
Nothing more important.
Yeah. I've made the best friends and had the best journey. And that's why we all love jiu-jitsu. And it's the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And everybody, we're all talking and laughing. No matter what, after the fight, you're gonna have some laughs, you're gonna have some tears, whether you won or lost.
Yep.
And what a journey. But I know that feeling after. I remember when I started kind of getting bruised up and stuff. And I think I was in Australia. I just fought Fitch. And I remember I went back and my face was busted up because I couldn't even move in the third round. And he just kind of sat on me and beat me up. I went to the bathroom. No, my friend, it was Hoyt actually. He goes, hey, come here. And he filled the whole sink with ice so I could dip my face inside. Oh. And I thought, it's the first time anybody ever did this for me. I might be getting old. Put my face in there, And when you get old, you start getting bruised. And you know what?
When did you feel like physically things were different? Like around what year?
I don't know about the physique. Well, I started looking, like when I started getting bruises, I think. Because even like GSP sitting on me, hitting me forever, busting my whole face up, and it was like Leatherface coming out like nothing. Let's do a modeling shoot. But then I started getting those black eyes, and my father told me, I said, look, you're starting to bruise up now. I think he was kind of saying it without saying it, but hey, you're starting to bruise up now. Because I would never have anything on my face.
So how old do you think you were?
I think it was around that time, around like the Fitch time, and it was probably around those times. And then.
And how old do you think you were when you fought Fitch?
32, 33. But I always say, for any fighter, it's the miles. It's not the age. It's like a car. You can keep a perfect car in mint condition in the garage. It's the miles that you put in your body, like Julio Cesar Chavez and all of us, you know, over there fighting all those fights in the octagon and all those fights in the gym. Every day in MMA, you meet the new guy, the new a-hole who thinks he's the toughest guy in the world, and he's your sparring partner for the next 8 weeks, and you got to deal with this asshole, you know?
Yeah.
And I just got tired of that kind of stuff, you know? Now I just laugh when I see it because, you know, you don't have to go kick his ass, you know?
Did you get tired of, was it physically tired, or was it a waning of your enthusiasm? You weren't as enthusiastic as you were when you were younger?
Enthusiastic.
So then you didn't train as hard?
It's always an emotional fatigue you get, but it's probably all of them. You don't try as hard, you don't train as hard, you're
just not in love with it anymore.
But you try to put a goal like, oh, if I could be the first guy to get 3 world titles, you know, that would. So you try to put a goal in your head that makes sense,
right?
You know, and then you keep falling up short, and you're just like, huh. But still, right now, walking right here. I know I don't even work out anymore. I'm still the toughest man on the planet. That's just.
I know. That's how you've always been.
I'll never ever not think that. I'll be 80. You know? You know, I'll kick your ass right now.
Yeah, well, for people who don't know, for young people that have not researched the history of BJ Penn, you must now go watch, because you're in for a treat. You put on some spectacular fights. It was fun times, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have you thought about doing anything else other than this running for governor thing?
I just wanna raise my kids, and they're growing so fast, you know.
Yeah.
And I just want to be around. And be around my mom now. She asked me to move in with her since my dad passed away. So, man, my dad was big. My dad, a lot of people don't know. Helson Gracie came over and he pushed jiu-jitsu more than everybody, of course. But my dad pushed jiu-jitsu a lot.
Yeah.
When the gym, you know how it was in the 90s? Nobody really liked jiu-jitsu. Everybody liked kickboxing and boxing, you know? And the gym wouldn't be making money. And he would always say, just leave it open. Leave it open. I'll take care of you this month. Leave it open.
Wow.
He loved jiu-jitsu. I think he knew how important it was, but because he was a judo black belt, but, you know.
I'm sure he knew then. And also, you won the Mundials 3 years in.
Man.
I remember those days, brother. You won the Mundials 3 years in. For people that don't understand how crazy that is, first of all, it's crazy to be able to get your black belt in 3 years. Then to win the Mundials as a black belt after 3 years of training. There's only one guy that ever did that. That's BJ Penn.
Man.
You did that shit, and I was like, we were all like, holy fuck, BJ won the Mundials? That was wild.
People ask me, they say, how did you get a black belt in 3 years? Was it desire? Was it dedication? Was it drive? And I always look at him and say, no, it was fun.
You had fun.
I had fun. That's the only way. You need to find what you love to do and become the best at it. What's your favorite thing? Everybody's got their thing in them, you know?
But it's just that accomplishment of being able to do that at that level 3 years in. That's nuts.
Man, and you know what's funny is John Lewis was telling Andre Pederneiras, BJ's ready to fight black belt. Let him fight black belt. So I went over to Novo União, and he goes, Andre's always the nicest guy, right? He goes, BJ, I believe in you. I believe you can be the world champion. But it's not me. You have to convince them. And he pointed at the whole group. We've grown up in such a serious sport, right? Where everything is important, you know?
Yeah.
So I look in there and he goes, we're going to do a selection today. You beat these two guys, I give you your black belt right now, and you're going to be on A spot to go into the Mundial. And then I won my 2 matches against the 2 black belts.
Wow.
And that was harder than the Mundial because everybody's screaming in Portuguese and this and that. And that's all of their friends. They know each other better than me. I'm from Hawaii, you know. But they love me anyway. But still, you know, that's their brother. Yeah. So we all did it and this and that. And I just hear a lot of Portuguese going, and I ended up winning. And then And then I got to the Moonjaw. I'm glad Joe Hawk didn't show up that day, because Joe Hawk was always my idol anyway. You know, I can't beat him. He'll kill me. He'll kick my ass. You remember Joe Hawk, how
Sure.
tough he was, right?
Yeah.
He's all of our idol. But that was the days of Shaolin, Leo Santos,
Yeah.
Hopinho, Joe Hawk, and it was just a fun time. And they really, when I ended up with Novu Niao, they really kind of reminded me of like a group of people from Hawaii. And it was just home still till today.
That's awesome.
That's my people.
Yeah, well, it was a beautiful relationship, and the fights. I mean, some of those fights that you had, man. I don't know if you ever go back and watch them,
Man,
but do you ever just fucking say, "Let me just take a look at what I did"?
I don't
watch
much.
on YouTube.
I don't much. You know, I should.
You should just put a smile on your face.
Right?
Watch a BJ Penn KO highlight reel.
Imagine when I'm older, like, come on, everybody, it's time to watch. And
Put
then-
on BJ Penn KO highlights. There's got to be a highlights.
Man,
Yeah, it's hard for fighters to get
to watch
past,
again.
Yeah.
It is, because then I start thinking about me and doing it now, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm 43. You know what used to help me? When I would drive, I had this one gray hair on my hand. And whenever, then I'd like, okay, you're fine. You don't have to. That's what did it. That's what helped,
That's
too.
hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, it's like time doesn't give a fuck, BJ. Time doesn't give a fuck about anybody. Time has its own ideas, and you have a clock.
Right?
But while your fucking clock was ticking, look what the fucking you did. Look what the fuck you did, BJ. You fucked up a lot of people. Like that takedown defense there was spectacular. While you were hitting him with uppercuts, while he's trying to take you down. This is another thing you did in that back take thing with Matt Hughes. You were one of the first guys that was very effective at trapping arms.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Still till today, where you can kind of trap their arm and you couldn't even suffocate them.
Yep.
And that's why I always think about, right? Yeah, BS, the mask is good for you. Look at that.
Did you see what Mikey Musumeci did to Imanari?
No.
They had a grappling match in 1FC. This is
Okay.
how good this Musumeci kid is. I don't know if you know who he is.
And Imanari's a legend. I mean,
Imanari's
he
a legend.
teaches us.
This-
We would go to his seminar, me and you.
This kid buzzsawed him.
No
Went right
way.
through him. Dude, this kid is good.
Where's this kid? Is Mike?
He's
Where's he
in
from?
Vegas right now. This kid trains 12 hours a day, and I'm not exaggerating, BJ. He is fucking obsessed. He doesn't take days off. He just goes.
It's fun. It's
So
fun for him.
they're exchanging leg lock attacks at first, and Imanari traps
He
him.
looks
in,
like a kid.
in a straight. He's young. He's in his early 20s, I believe. He's very young, but the guy's so good and just constantly drills, and has fantastic defense too. So his leg lock defense and his offense is very high
I
level.
mean, to have Imanari, to have your leg like that, imagine what me and you would be thinking.
Crazy.
Oh my
You're
God, he's
dead.
going to break my leg.
Yeah, but he's look at that right there. I mean, that is insane.
What?
That footlock
That
right
is
there.
scary.
That attempt looks insane, but he gets out of this. That's what's nuts. So he starts attacking Imanari's leg, and Imanari's like, okay, I gotta address that, or I gotta hang on to this. I gotta make a choice. So he makes a choice, and so now he's got his leg out, and now Musumeci's got him in real danger. So Imanari steps up, and he tries to attack an inside heel hook.
Okay.
So they're battling back and forth. And Musumeci, eventually, I think it's right out of here, he gets to his back. So here uses that underhook, and bam, he clamps a hold of his body. Now he's got him from behind. So all he has to do is get his legs out, and he's got his back. It's pretty interesting. Oh, look, heel hook again.
This is amazing stuff right now.
Amazing stuff. So if you don't know, like Imanari is like this wizard leg
He's
lock
been doing this
specialist.
before us.
Yeah, he was the
And
man.
here's this kid fighting with him. This is amazing.
Yeah, so now Musumeci gets him,
Okay.
and he mounts. Look how quickly he mounts. His beautiful mount. So he's got him on the ground. He's got head and arm control, full mount. Look how beautiful that mount is, too, just quickly. And he just clamps a hold of him, and then watch how he takes the back here, BJ. This is wild shit. Because it's so quick, it's hard to see how he's doing it. Watch this little slickness right here. So he holds on to him. Look at this. Oh.
Wow.
How about that?
Yep.
Can I see that again?
Wow.
Now, by the way, folks, he's doing this to Imanari. Look at this back take.
Imanari has
Look at
been
that.
doing this before me and Joe started.
That back take was nasty.
Amazing.
Amazing back take. So this is how strong this kid is.
Off the going to your knees. He takes your back off going to your
And
knees.
this is what I was going to get to. He triangles the arm under. Not just hold it like you did, but he triangles it. That's his move.
How do you get? He just pushes.
Watch, I'll show you.
Okay.
He's very flexible with his legs and good leg dexterity as well, but he's got
hunting it.
like
He's
a whole
hunting it.
system of how to set up arms, and he drills them, how to set arms and trap them.
Right
There
there.
he is, right there. Look how he goes across. He just keeps going until he gets it, but he pins that arm down. And once he pins that arm down, see how he gets it under?
Okay, there he got it.
Here he goes. Now he's
And
got
then,
it. Now he's got it. So now he gets.
That's the one.
Now
I
he's
love.
got it trapped, and then he moves it to a triangle. Look at that.
Wow, it's over. You'll
Bam!
never get it
Nasty.
out.
Never getting that out. That's nasty. So he not only
Wow.
takes the back, but he triangles his fucking arm, and now he's battling off a rear naked choke from one of the best guys in the world with one arm.
And the
That's how good
Japanese
he
are
is.
the greatest in the world at defending back submissions
This
and all that.
kid is nasty. So he keeps digging. He's
Okay.
using the classic, tuck your thumb, go under the chin, and he's getting across, and he's just trying to get it all the way across so he can grab that shoulder. And now he's got the shoulder. He's got one arm under. He's fucked now.
Look
Now
at
he's
that.
fucked. And watch how he sinks his choke in. It's a one-arm choke, but he reaches back and goes right through like that. Look at that.
Wow.
Bam.
Wow.
Nasty.
Yep.
How nasty.
Yep.
That kid's fucking good.
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that I just saw that right there.
Well, this kid has been elite of the elite in no-gi grappling. He's done a lot of gi work, too. A lot of gi grappling, too. He's elite at gi grappling as well. But in no-gi, he's been fantastic.
So is Gordon is he's not a jiu-jitsu black belt, Gordon?
What?
No, I was asking you because I thought I saw him with
Well, he's a Danaher black belt.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it's a no-gi black belt. I think maybe he's trolling. Where
Yeah,
because
I saw he's wearing blue
Because he
belt.
wore a blue belt one day and a
that's-
purple belt the next day.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out what was going on.
If he's not a black belt, who the fuck is? If Gordon Ryan isn't a black
Right?
belt, like how stringent are your requirements? You got literally the greatest on paper, the greatest grappler of all time, and he's only 25.
He's only 25?
Yes.
Wow.
Maybe
So
he's
how-
26 now. Is Gordon 26?
Look, he got his brown belt.
That's not real.
Yeah, okay, I was trying to figure out what was
That's
going on there.
preposterous. I mean, unless he's fucking around, he's like, I don't want a black belt.
And how
Give
heavy
me a
is-
brown
how
belt.
heavy is he?
Gordon's about 240 now, somewhere around then. He was having some stomach problems, but he seems to have worked them out for the most part. Although he did say, it depends on what he eats. If he eats well, his stomach doesn't get any. He got staph a bunch of times, and he was on antibiotics for a long time, and it just fucked his whole gut biome up. And he would eat. It's a certain reaction where he would eat food and almost everything he ate made him nauseous.
Interesting. I see you doing a lot with the diet and stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
A lot. You're into the meat or whatever.
I'm into the meat or whatever.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah, I'm
because
a-
I see so many different things out there.
I eat a lot of meat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love meat too. Yeah.
It's a complicated conversation that's also wrapped up.
I wanted
in
to ask you about
politics.
that. Okay.
Because people they associate meat with climate change. They're like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't care about the climate. Don't you know that eating meat is a big
Man.
well? There's
We're
a lot
God
of
now.
problems.
We're God now. We're gonna fix the
Well,
earth.
we shouldn't fuck up the earth any more than we've already fucked it up, and they probably should come up with some methods to mitigate it, but you got to be rational about certain things. Like regenerative farming is real, which means there's on some farms, if they run them correctly, and again, I'm a moron, I don't know exactly if this is true, but they're talking about it being able to achieve a carbon neutral state on a regenerative farm. So a regenerative farm is where the cows graze and then they shit, and their manure is used as fertilizer.
Okay.
And then there's other animals that roam the land like pigs and chickens, and they all shit and eat and take care of
Okay.
all the little
Right.
bugs and shit and keep everything clean. And
The
they
microbes.
and they run like what the world is supposed to be like.
Okay.
Because that's really
Within a
what's-
fence
yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they just do. There's a guy named Joel Salatin, and he does this, and he has a whole system. And what he does is he just moves them to new areas.
Yeah.
And he constantly has them roam around the land, and he just kind of moves them in movable pens.
Okay. Okay.
So they're always in nature. They're just kind of corralled in,
Yep.
but they live like an animal's supposed to live, not like factory farming or anything fucked up.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And that in
Gotcha.
doing it this way, they believe that they can achieve a carbon neutral effect.
Okay.
And the real problem in this country is like it's not just in terms of pollution. There's a lot of pollution. There's plastics, microplastics that they keep finding in our bloodstream, and we're doing nothing to address that. Like we just assume that that's a part of life. And you just have to deal with that. As much as people know about that, like there's studies that are coming out about this now that show that it's leading to a decrease in sperm count for men, an uptick in miscarriages for women. There's these things called phthalates, and it's a kind of a chemical that comes from petrochemical products. And when it gets into a mammal's bloodstream, it fucks up their reproductive system.
Well, that's in a toothbrush and everything then.
Phthalates?
Plastics, right?
No, I don't know. I don't know what it's in. I know it's in a lot of things.
Okay.
I know it's in like when you microwave plastics. Like that's probably not a good idea.
Because it goes in your food, melting
it can
your
leach
food.
into your food. You know, when you're heating up plastics and it's attached to your food, probably not the best idea.
Okay.
Which makes sense, right? I mean, it's
That makes
made out of
sense.
fucking gasoline.
And you're heating it up. Yeah.
Here goes. A scientist analyzed blood samples from 22 anonymous donors. All healthy adults found plastic particles in 17. Half the samples contained PET plastic, which is commonly used in drink bottles, while a third contained polystyrene, used for packaging food and other products. A quarter of the blood samples contained polyethylene, from which plastic carrier bags are made. Jesus Christ.
So our Ziplocs.
So we're breathing this stuff in. We're getting it from food. We're getting it from all
in the
all
air,
kinds of different things.
right? Yeah, that makes sense.
There's some particles, I'm sure, like, what is brake dust? What are they making those things out of? Because that's a real thing. Brake dust is a real thing. When you live in no bullshit. Like, if you live in a place like New York City and there's, like, people constantly braking around you in traffic, that's, like, little puffs
and
of
you
this
see it on
stuff.
the rims. Don't you see it on the rim?
Oh,
Right?
that's a real thing, BJ.
Yeah.
Brake dust in the air is a real thing.
Yep, I believe that.
100%. They say that living in, like, a high population, high polluted area like that, where there's a lot of traffic, like if people are just using regular internal combustion cars like they are now, unless everybody switches to electric, you're ingesting a certain amount of chemicals that are coming out of those cars,
No matter
whether you
what.
like it or not.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
If you're walking this way and everyone in this side has a fire going on, that's what they have. They have a controlled fire. What are they burning?
Yeah,
They're
you're
burning
right.
gasoline.
It's a controlled.
So they're
that's so
burning
true.
gasoline, but it goes through a bunch of filters. Don't worry about it, BJ. It's fine and clean. And it goes through all these filters and comes out the back end, but you're just walking next to that. That's crazy.
And imagine if you're jogging, the people who jog on the road.
When I used to drive home, when I lived in LA and I'd get stuck in traffic, I'd always feel like shit when I got home. And then I realized, oh, asshole, you're out there getting poisoned. You're on the highway.
Right?
If you're on the
That makes
405 and it's bumper-to-bumper traffic for an hour and a half,
You're being
bumper to
poisoned.
bumper for an hour and a half, you're breathing in all these fires.
Yep.
Everybody's got a sterno can. You're
Yep.
breathing that shit in.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That's true, though.
That's what it is.
A bunch of controlled fires. That's
It's
a,
a
good way to
bunch of
look at it.
controlled fires. And you're
Yep.
breathing the air in, whatever's left that the engine doesn't suck in
Yeah.
and burn off.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
That's got to be bad for you. There's like so many different things that we, because civilization's amazing. Right? It's amazing that you can get medicine. It's amazing that you can get education. It's amazing you can get safe housing, that all this stuff can happen in an area. That's civilization. That's amazing. But it comes with consequences. And one of them is one of the things that we've been using, these plastics, are getting into our bodies. And it has disastrous consequences.
Yeah.
This woman named Dr. Shanna Swan, she wrote this book called Countdown, and it's all about these phthalates and these petrochemical products and what they're doing to reproductive systems.
Because I remember they always have those things to take out the heavy metals and stuff, but now we got to get one to take out the plastics, huh?
I don't know what they can do. I wonder what they can do. But the real problem apparently is when these phthalates in particular are infect women when they're pregnant, because then it has an impact on the development of the child. So more so than it has an impact on an adult who's already, it has during the process of maturation inside the womb. Like that's when they think it has effects on kids. Because this is
Oh,
what they're
that's
thinking
terrible.
about. Yeah, because this is what they're thinking about with mammals. The study, I believe, showed that with mammals, when there was a large presence of phthalates or a presence of phthalates, they could see that the male animal was more feminized. They had smaller testicles, smaller
Wow.
penises. They had smaller taints.
And they don't want to fight back,
Wow, that's
Right.
probably,
right?
yeah. There's probably a lot of that there. Yeah, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's the part. It's a thing that's going on in the whole world.
It's easier to tell somebody what to do and then, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they're not going to say, I don't want to do that.
I wonder what the fuck we could do about these phthalates, and I wonder what they could do about, microplastics and that guy. I'm sure you're aware of that guy, Boyan Slot, who built that. Is a young kid who built that machine that's cleaning up the Pacific garbage patch.
Yeah, I heard. So
Yeah.
I didn't know exactly what name that was, but I heard about somebody trying to clean up that plastic
Yeah,
in the ocean.
I mean, he developed this idea when he was 19 years old. The kid's a genius.
So what does it do?
Well, it's a machine that skims the ocean. They actually have a working model of it now. And not only that, but you can actually buy products that they create from
From the
that
plastic.
recycled plastic, which is pretty
Interesting.
badass. Yeah, they had like sunglasses, and I think they have a bunch of other stuff now. But back then when he was on, they had sunglasses. But this machine, it goes through the ocean and scoops up all this plastic.
Okay.
And over time, look at this. This is all stuff that they've gotten out of the ocean.
Wow.
Isn't this insane? So this garbage patch is gigantic. It's this huge spot in the middle of the ocean where I guess the currents pass each other, and it allows all this garbage to kind of stay there and collect. So it's this massive, massive area. But look how much shit is in it, man.
Wow.
That's all just floating around in this massive spot in the middle of the ocean.
You know who the
Look at this.
fishermen who live off the ocean? They litter the ocean.
That's
not. They'll
horrible.
just drink a soda and throw it over that.
That's
It
so
blows me
crazy.
away
It's
when
so
I
crazy.
see that.
It's so sad. That's so sad if someone does that. It's so ignorant.
Right?
It's just they haven't been educated. Someone didn't respect them, and then they don't respect the ocean. Like someone should tell you what that is. Like you live next to an amazing natural wonder.
Yep.
You know, when you
Yep.
stand by the ocean in Hawaii, you look out, you're like, this is crazy. There's so much water out there.
How was your trip to
Loved
Maui?
it. Love it. I love it there,
You had a
man.
great
I love
time.
it. Dude.
Right on.
Hawaii's my favorite spot.
Well, when
love
I
visiting.
become governor,
I'm gonna come back, man.
yeah, I heard
Fuck
you were
yeah.
planning on moving to the Big Island one day, or you're thinking
I
about
thought
it.
about it. Yeah, I'd heard that Terrence McKenna's house was for sale up there, but someone told me it burnt to the ground.
Terrence
McKenna.
McKenna.
Terrence McKenna's this psychedelic pioneer who's an ethnobotanist and just a genius guy. And
Okay.
I was a giant admirer of his work, and he had a getaway in Kona.
Oh,
And
nice.
he lived in this area where he had set up like this whole psychedelic plant compound, like all over his
Okay.
this plot of land. He was growing all these plants that they had acquired samples from overseas.
Okay.
He was a scientist and
Uh-huh.
wrote a bunch of amazing books on psychedelic drugs.
Oh, wow.
And that's where he lived. But I believe his place burnt to the ground.
Oh, that's
So
terrible.
he would live there, and then he would every 6 months he would get on a plane and go do speaking tours. And there's a lot of these tours. There's a podcast called The Psychedelic Salon, and they put up those. You can listen to most of them. He has it up there. Lorenzo from The Psychedelic Salon, big shout out. But he has all these conversations that McKenna had in front of audiences and conferences and debates with people. Really, really fucking interesting dude. And that's where he lived. I heard his house is for sale. And I was
Oh,
like, oh
cool.
shit. But then I heard it burnt to the ground. So, is that true? Did it burn to the ground?
The only thing I can find at the moment is a Reddit thread of people saying they found it in the last 2 years. So I don't
They
know.
found the house? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I
if
don't know.
Reddit found it, I'm never buying it.
But like they're not sharing where it is. They said like
Of course.
I found it cryptically and I've
Oh.
found the directions and.
Well,
made
I could
it.
always ask his brother. I'm friends with his brother. But he was something special. Very, very entertaining and interesting guy with some wild ideas.
Interesting.
He thought
yeah.
that people were going to create a time machine.
It's almost like they got a time machine. I don't know.
Almost.
Right? What do you think about that? Like, you gave up on the aliens, you give up on all these different things, but man, these just like Biff in Back to the Future. Did they steal the sports almanac and go back.
I don't
go
think
back
they did.
in time.
I don't think they did. I think that reality is slippery, and we always try to control it in our head. At least we want some order to it. We just want some order to life. We want it to make sense. It doesn't make sense, so it always feels crazy. It always feels like maybe this is a simulation. Maybe life is just bananas. Maybe life is like really fucking crazy. That's what I'm going with. I don't think it's a simulation.
It's pretty crazy for the animals, right? When living in the Amazon forest or in the safari.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Their
fun
lives
right
seem
now.
crazier than ours. So why would ours be a simulation?
I got way too down the rabbit hole with these Instagram pages that show animals killing animals. There's so many of them. BJ, I spent like an hour the other day on YouTube just watching animals getting taken out by other animals.
Man,
there's so many of them.
it's like an animal could just be born and
snatch right away. Yeah,
That's amazing. That's just
it's brutal.
Life will beat you to death.
And that's what it was for most of the time when people were people. That's what it was. You go outside, you get eaten.
Right?
Stick together, be careful, carry a spear, point it out at the jungle everywhere you go, because there's always something waiting to pounce.
Because they said that people never used to live as long as us. I mean, we weren't there, but we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, why is it? I mean, if you really think about any kind of injury you got back then, broken leg, dead.
You're dust.
Dead.
You're dust.
Dead. Yeah. Tear your ACL, can't run, dead.
The elephants, they just keep walking.
Yeah, dead.
Your tribe would just keep walking.
Yeah.
And you go down.
You go down, they stomp you. Dead.
Right?
Humans got down. There was a point in time when a super volcano went off around Indonesia where they think humans got, was it called a Toba? Is that it? The humans got down to somewhere in the neighborhood of like 70,000 people.
Wow.
Was it 7,000 or 70? 5,000 people?
That's crazy to hear.
It's in the thousands.
That's like Noah. That's like Noah. The name of that race was Noah. 5,000 people.
Yeah, but that was just one moment in time.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. 3,000 to 10,000. Okay. Oh, no.
Surviving individuals.
According to the genetic bottleneck theory, between 50,000 and 100,000 years ago, human population decreased to 3,000 to 10,000 surviving individuals.
Wow.
Because it could be as low as 3,000.
Yeah.
And that's just so.
Yeah.
If that happened, for sure, people ate people. Right? Guaranteed.
You had to.
You get down that low. You get down that low when people die. You got to eat them.
Yeah, survival. I mean, I wish we had real news. I wish we knew what was going on around.
Yeah.
And then it makes you wonder, okay, well, if we don't have real news, what's up with our history? Yeah, what's up with any history? What's up with Hawaiian history? What's up with Tahitian history? What's up with any history, right? We don't know anything.
There's independent people that you can trust. That's all there is. When something is a part of big organizations, it's reasonable to be skeptical. And I'm not saying that it's impossible for a big organization to be objective, but they're so influenced by advertisers. They're so influenced. They're so influenced. They have to be. They know where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
They're not going to pretend they don't know where the money's coming from.
That too, I talk to cultural advisors all the time from Hawaii or wherever, and I say, come on, let's be real. You weren't there. We weren't there. We weren't there, and then we can just go as far as our grandmothers and our, that's how far we can go.
Hawaii is a wild place, man, because it's 5 hours on a plane over the ocean, and yet it's America.
Right? And
it's wild.
And we can't drive out.
No.
We're stuck. We're there. And
but it's paradise.
They can use this as a control group. I mean, I remember when they were offering us it was like right when I fought Lyoto and I came back, and I could be wrong, but like I said, I could be making a mistake, but I remember they were offering us the swine flu shot not too long after I got back fighting Lyoto. And that was right when Obama got in, and just made me wonder, because I was never really a flu shot guy in the first place. You know what I mean? All of us.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot set a sports world record unless you know about your immune system, unless you have some kind of knowledge. Imagine a guy like Floyd Mayweather, what he knows about his immune system. Every time he stepped in there, he made sure that he was ready to go. There was nothing wrong, because no matter how good you feel, no matter how hard you train, you're only going to use the game plan to how you feel. if you don't, I know we planned on this, but hey, I don't feel like that right now, so we're
Right.
gonna do this. You
Right,
know,
right.
you know, and it's just life, right? You know, you get put in those positions, but
Well, the thing
I
about
always-
Floyd Mayweather supposedly, and there's a thing that I tweeted the other day that was a YouTube video that I watched. Floyd Mayweather's work ethic was insane. Insane.
Right.
They said that dude, Zab Judah, went to train with them because they had fought, and then Zab went and was sparring for him. And when they were working together, Floyd would call him up at like 2 a.m. Let's go run. He's like, what? The fuck are you talking about? Okay, let's go to the gym. It's 2 a.m. He's like, 2:30 in the morning, he wanted to go to the gym. And then like 8 hours later, he'll call you up, let's go run. Like he was running twice a day. He was running sometimes 10 miles in the morning. He ran
Amazing.
constantly. And that's one of the things about him is like his cardio was off the charts.
Yup.
Floyd never gets tired. of a
Never.
fight.
Never, ever.
Never. You never
And-
see him like huffing and
and
puffing.
he beat Canelo.
Oh,
Can you
he beat
believe
Canelo.
that?
He beat him clean. He beat
Right?
him pretty clean. But he was
with
smart
that,
too.
With that
Yep.
bang.
He made Canelo get down to 152. Remember that?
Smart, man.
Very
yeah.
smart. Very smart. What do you think
Man.
about Canelo Bivol?
Who's Canelo Bivol?
No, Canelo's fighting Bivol.
Oh,
Bivol
I
is.
never heard of Bivol.
He is. I want to say, he's a cruiserweight champion. Is he a cruiserweight champion or a light heavyweight? No, he's light heavyweight. I believe he's light heavyweight champion. Is that is that correct? Dimitri Bivol, light heavyweight champion.
I heard they were talking about Canelo and Usman or whatever.
Yeah, they were talking
And
about that.
But MMA, it's truly the only sport because, like George Masvidal was like, Usman still is not a real puncher, or he still is not a real striker, even though Usman did catch Masvidal, and he's the only guy to put Masvidal down. But MMA is just such a crazy sport that he might be kind of right by saying he's not really a full striker yet, but he knocked him out. You know, I
Yeah.
couldn't believe that when George got knocked out because that was the first time ever. Were you there?
Yes.
Wow, that was the first.
one punch. I think Usman, in terms of like welterweight, he's going to go down as one of the greats.
Because he's doing an Anderson Silva type
Yes.
run
He's-
right now. He's already almost caught up to GSP.
If he's not the greatest of all time, he's in the conversation. Like, when you look at all-time greats, like, I don't see a person at 170 that's ever lived that I think is a favorite against Usman. I've never
Right,
seen that person.
right.
I've never seen that
You're
person.
right about
They
that,
might
man.
exist, but I've never seen them.
Right?
You know? I mean, we were worried maybe it would be Hamza. Like, Hamza seemed like he was that guy, but he just jumped right into the deep water with Gilbert.
Yeah.
But if you look at the difference in their performances, and I know you can't do MMA math, it doesn't really work that
Right.
way. But if you did look at the way Usman handled Gilbert,
Compared to Hamza,
Hamza got in real trouble. And it was
Right.
real
makes you wonder.
Usman keeps getting better, man.
And he can punch
keeps
now.
getting better.
And
One punch.
And he's who's
Masvidal.
the coach? He's in Colorado, right?
Yes.
With those-
Trevor Whitman.
Trevor Whitman. He's doing
Trevor
a great
Whitman's
job.
a bad motherfucker.
Yes, he is.
That guy's a wizard,
He's
too.
got Rose too, right?
Yes.
Yes, he's
Trevor's-
amazing. He's amazing.
He's made a better MMA glove. I don't know if you've seen it.
Really, yeah?
Onyx, his
But you
his
don't
company.
poke people's eyes.
No, it's like you're curled into a fist. It protects your hand better, too.
Okay.
And it's a more dense foam, so it's the
Yeah.
same weight, but it's superior construction. I put
Nice.
it on, and I was like, dude, this is the
This
best
is
MMA
better.
glove I've ever felt. And he's a genius with that shit. And I don't know why the UFC hasn't adopted it. I want to send them this afterwards. You need to get these fucking gloves. They're the best gloves. They're better for the fighters' hands. They're better
Yeah.
for fights. I think there's a real possibility that they can eliminate a lot of eye pokes
With
because
this
they
glove.
cause you to curve.
Right.
You can open them up if you need to grapple, but they cause you to curve instead
Yeah.
of. You'll tell me, a lot of the UFC guys say that the gloves almost feel like they're opening you up.
You can't grab anything. Once you tape your hands, your grappling is done. You're basically like this
Yeah.
at that point. You know?
Unless you have giant hands. Like some dudes, like
Remember
Fabricio
Lesnar?
Verdum.
Or
Yeah,
Verdum.
Lesnar.
I mean,
But Verdum with
they
the
had to get him
guard.
like a triple X glove or something.
Yeah. Well, you know his gloves are bigger? Shane Carwin's.
Really?
Bro, Shane Carwin looked like a fucking comic book superhero when I met him.
Shane Carwin. Where is he? Is he from Texas?
Colorado.
Okay.
He's a Denver guy.
Okay.
He trained with Schaub. And, when he was the interim champion, dude, I don't know what year this was. I was living in Colorado, so I guess it was 2009. And I was doing jiu-jitsu at Amal Easton's place. And I look up from the mat, and there's this dude who walks in who doesn't even look real. He looks like if the Thing from Fantastic Four was a person. He's that big because he's in between fights. He's like 300 pounds. And this is, I think, before I wonder when Shane Carwin first fought in the UFC. I think he'd already fought in the UFC by then. But he was so big. Look at the size of his hands.
I remember.
That's Shane's hand on the right and Brock's hand on the left. But that's a bad perspective because Brock's hand is turned slightly sideways.
But Brock's whole first round against Shane was like
Yeah.
the biggest man in the world on his back.
Just covering up.
Just like this.
Dude, if
Like,
Shane just paced himself and
Yeah.
didn't like completely empty the tank, he would have stopped him.
Yeah.
He just got so excited that he emptied the gas tank trying to put him away. If not for that, Shane Carwin would have been the heavyweight champion of the
More
world.
fights have been lost by doing that
Yeah.
than anything else. Another thing I always hated too was like using your legs like a triangle or an armbar or trying to do some submission, and then the round ends, and then now you got to fight and your legs have nothing.
Yeah.
You're just like,
Yeah.
You want to look in your corner and be like, no, I want to fight. Just my legs, my body can't. I want to fight more.
Yeah, when a guy jumps on a guy's back and tries to like ride his back and hold on and take his back from behind, like, boy, if
That
you don't
alone.
get that one,
Yeah.
if you don't get that one, that's so much
Oh,
squeezing.
standing up, you're talking. Yes.
That's so much squeezing.
100%.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes guillotines, right? Sometimes, or a Darsk, they go for it.
Any of
And they
those.
just blow their arms out.
Yeah, really, man. That's stuff you really got to be accounted for
Yeah.
when you're in the ring.
How much different was that for you when you were incorporating that crazy strength and conditioning routine? Was that where it made the difference, like in those moments?
You know, yeah, I guess. I think it made the difference in the speed.
In the speed.
The speed was everything. And
Because all the plyometric drills.
like he would call it stretch speed or something, and he's like, don't stretch too much because you want your tendons to be able to react back when you like your ankle will go like this, but you don't want it always stretch too much. You want it to just always be able to reflex, and that's what he was all about. He was all about moving your body as fast as you possibly can. That's what Marinovich was about. He had those different things where you throw the things off and push them with your legs, but
It makes sense as long as you have the kind of technique that you had. But in the process of developing technique, it's like how much time do you spend with that kind of strength and conditioning versus how much time do you spend learning technique?
well, there you go. I mean, sooner or later, you're going to have to go and shoot some baskets.
Yeah.
How are you going to get better at surfing? Sooner or later, you're going to have to paddle out.
Well, like look
You
at a
know?
guy like Anderson in his prime. Now imagine if you don't have this kind of skills that Anderson has in his prime, but you're in really, really good shape. That's
Yeah.
not going to help you.
You're just gonna be the
You-
best shaped guy at the club getting his butt kicked. That's what
You're just going to
be.
get beat up for
Yeah.
a little while longer.
Yeah.
That's all it's going to be. You're going to survive for a little while longer while Anderson tunes you up.
Yeah.
Like you need skills.
You need
skills are the most important thing.
And the one thing you can't improve, no matter how much times you do it, is getting hit. You don't get better from getting hit; you get
Right.
worse. We've seen how many jaws crack.
Yeah, a lot.
Right? Like bang, bang,
Nobody's-
bang, and then
yeah.
boom, it cracks, and you're like, oh, it's just they keep throwing that little rock at the glass, and then a crack, and then it.
Who's the most durable and resilient guy that's ever fought in the sport in terms of like longevity? There's only one answer.
Longevity. Let's hear it.
Andrei Arlovsky.
Oh, that I cannot believe.
Cannot believe.
Looking because he started with me. We
He's
started
still
together,
winning.
and he's still going.
He's still winning.
I cannot believe
Andrei
Andre.
Arlovsky looks great.
I bow to you, Andre. You are amazing. You inspire all of us every day.
Come on, man.
I cannot
Andrei
believe
Arlovsky was the UFC heavyweight champion in the world. And what year was that?
he
What
fought
year
Paul,
was
he
that?
defended against Paul Buentello. I remember that.
What
He
year
wanted
was
against
that?
Sylvia,
Right.
And he defended against Buentello. Then he might have lost it to
I want to
Sylvia.
say that was like 2003.
Yep. What a great. He's amazing.
It's amazing.
And then he was in New
BJ,
Mexico.
this is 20 years we're talking now. 20 years
He's
in the
still
UFC.
knocking people out.
Insane. Wait,
He made it a career.
2005.
He made it a career.
So it's been 17
Wait,
years.
Wait, he started fighting UFC 2005? Was
His
that it?
debut?
That-
UFC
Yeah.
28.
Before
and
me.
That was in 2004.
So debut in 2004, the
wait.
champion in 2005.
But my first fight was 2001. Oh yeah. Wait. Well, what was his debut? Was it
2004 was his
28?
debut.
UFC. So it's UFC 28 was 2000 actually. It says.
Oh yeah, because
November
that was
17th,
UFC 32, which was 2001.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing resilience.
Belarus.
I mean, that dude has been around, son.
Yes, it's not even a question. Andrei Arlovsky. He is.
He fought everybody.
He is the quintessential.
And he's still winning. That's what's crazy.
He's got to look at me and say, MMA is an opportunity, my ass, BJ. This is my career.
It is for him.
It's a career for him.
He fights on Saturday night.
He fights Saturday night
Oh,
on the
my
Font versus
gosh.
Verify. That's a good card, too. I like that card.
Imagine, he's so amazing, this guy.
It's incredible. That is incredible.
He's
really
too
is.
amazing. 33-20. Proud of this guy.
It's just the enthusiasm
The
still
records
there.
show nothing. The records, like you said, it's on the day when that happened, right? When
on the day. You have to look at the overall body of work, but you also really have to look. I mean, when I talk about greatness, that's what I like to concentrate on. I mean, there's a lot of amazing fights, and there's a lot of amazing fighters and great wars and everything. But there's something about extraordinary greatness when a guy just has total domination over a division, you know?
Yep.
And you had that. And George had that. And, you know, there's a few guys that have had that over time. Usman has that right now. Mighty Mouse had that. There's a few guys. Izzy has that. You know, when you've beaten everybody in the division. You kind of own in the division. That's a rare gem of a fighter. And my thought is to always analyze those people at their peak of power and destruction.
Yep.
And you get to watch them. Like Stylebender versus Paulo Costa. That's the peak.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
at the peak of his powers.
Exactly.
Just this full wizardry in effect.
Right.
You know, just putting on a show against the most dangerous guy in the division, the scariest guy in the division. He just lights him up like a Christmas tree.
Right.
Does whatever he wants to.
I like Stylebender.
Love Stylebender.
Yeah.
But his technique is like it's a rare thing when a guy gets to that what we're talking about, when someone's just dominating a division. That's a special kind of athlete to be able to do that.
Because sometimes you don't even, because what did everybody say when Anderson was dominating his division? Oh, well, he doesn't have a strong division. But he made it not look like a strong division.
He fought good guys.
I mean, it is true. You are who you fight, and that's why Ali was so lucky to have Frazier and Norton and Foreman and have all these guys. But Anderson, remember when he jumped around and then when Carlos Newton shot at him and he kneed him in Pride, he was just dancing around, moving.
Yep.
And boom, that's the setups that you were talking about. When you were talking about his setups, and I was thinking about when he kneed Carlos, and
he was phenomenal.
He was such an animal.
He was so good. And it's just, I think that what we're all doing is, as fans, we're observing it, and as guys like you're participating in excellence in a discipline, and this discipline is fucking people up, and it's a complicated discipline, and everybody approaches the discipline differently. You know, Brock Lesnar was like ground and pound, smash, get you to the ground, beat the fuck out of you. You know, and Oliveira, real technical with his strikes, nasty submissions.
I love Oliveira, and I tell him all the time, I say, because I always see him with Macaco, and I always tell him, I say, you know what I love about you, Charles? You always stayed with Macaco.
Yeah.
Never left. And us being jiu-jitsu guys, we know what that's about, being a Creoche and stuff.
Yeah.
And Macaco always looks at me and he nods his head because he knows that we're from that generation.
Yeah.
Right? Remember back then, it was little gangs, like the jiu-jitsu gang, the wrestling gang, the kickboxing gang.
Yep.
It was all a bunch of gangs, and everybody like carried their own flag, and it was different than it is now. And I think, imagine getting into this now. I mean, where would you start? Where do you begin?
Where would you start?
It seems a lot more scary. Like for me, I was like, oh, I had it easy, man. Everybody was just starting out. You know, these guys are crazy.
If you started out from the beginning, like say if you were a young kid, if you wanted to coach a young kid, would you say go to an MMA gym, or would you say specialize in something first? Like while you're young, specialize in jiu-jitsu, specialize in kickboxing, get really good at that, specialize in wrestling, get really good at that. Then you can go start learning all that other shit, but you'll always have that one strength over people.
That's what I've always said my whole life, but I don't know now. I don't know if a guy like Trevor Whitman can just train a kid, you know what I mean, and grab him and just take him all the way. But I always used to say it before, find what you like the most. What do you like? Do you like striking or you like grappling? Which one do you like the most? Oh, okay, you like wrestling. Okay, try to become an Olympic wrestler. Go do that. Try to go to college. Go do that as far as you can. And then when you're done doing that, when you're done with that dream, start to add everything else. That's what I would think before, because that's what I did, right? I did jiu-jitsu till I was a world champion, and I tried to add everything else. Am I slowing the guy down by doing that now? I don't know. I think I would have to sit and talk to people. I'd talk to you. I'd talk to Eddie. I'd talk to all of these guys. I'd talk to Perillo. I'd go talk to Trevor Whitman. I'd talk to Javier. You know, I don't know.
have to take into consideration people's physical limitations too, right?
That too. Well, that's
Yeah.
a fact.
That's a fact. If you're training someone from the jump, there's no real guarantee that they're ever going to be really good.
That's why I don't train people, because they gotta leave you anyway. To be
Yeah.
the best, they've gotta leave you.
Yeah.
And here we're just putting everything into them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're gonna
They
have
have to
to.
leave
You're gonna
you.
have to bid them be nice and bid them a nice farewell, because they gotta learn more than what you have to teach.
Especially if your income relies on them. You know,
that
like
too.
you need fighters to pay you because that's how you make a living.
Right?
You know, there's a few guys that seem to have a fantastic relationship with their pupils. Like Faraz Zahabi's got a fantastic relationship with all his fighters, and I love the way he runs his gym. And he's such a philosophical guy
Yes,
too, that he imparts a perspective in these fighters just from the way he carries himself and the way he can. I mean, he's like one of the. Have you ever sat down and had a conversation with him?
Just a little bit here and there,
He's
but
one of the
I
most
love
articulate
Faraz.
people.
Yes, he is very articulate like that.
He's a brilliant guy, and that's why he's so good as a coach.
I have so much respect for the MMA coaches, and I tell Jason Perillo all the time, I said, hey, we started together, but look at you, man. You're out there swimming. I think it's harder to be an MMA coach and make a living and pay your rent and all than the
hard.
fighter himself. And
You got to count on somebody else to go out there and perform.
Yeah, he went through. He was with me. Then he got Michael Bisping to the championship. Then he got Chris Cyborg to the championship. Now Chito Vera's working his way
Mackenzie
up.
Dern's with
Mackenzie
him.
worked. Yep, and
Yeah, Chito Vera's with him all the time. Chito Vera's fighting Rob Font this weekend.
Wow.
That's a serious fight.
yes, that is a serious
That's a
fight.
serious fight.
Two hungry. Those are two
Oh my
hungry
God.
guys.
I'm fired
That's-
up for that
That's
fight.
hunger. That's
Yeah.
hunger right there. Those two
Yeah.
guys.
Fuck yeah. That's a great
You
fight.
know?
And it's a headliner on ESPN
And
Plus. you
and
know?
because God throws you out there and it's like sink or swim, and I'm like, man, Jason Perillo, he's swimming out there. Look at this guy.
Super
And
well
That's why
respected.
I was with him. Yep, and it's just amazing. These coaches, they know it. They know a lot.
Yeah, they got to put so much in a fighter. When you find some kid, like, you don't know if he can take a shot. You don't know. There's so many things. You don't know what happens when the heat gets turned up to 9.
You gotta weed them out right away. Okay, what you want to fight? Okay, get in here right now. Go ahead, go. You want to
Yeah.
fight? Step in the ring right now. Let's see
Well,
it.
BJ, one of the things that Mike Tyson was talking about was when he met Customato, that Customato also worked with him under hypnosis. And so he coached him and put him in a state of hypnosis and would coach him and talk to him about mindset and, like, get him programmed.
Wow.
And then also physically super crazy gifted, right? Like,
Yeah.
he told me he was 13 years old. He was almost 200 pounds. He was in the 190s at 13 years old. He goes in jacked. So he was fucking kids up that were like, they had no business being in there with him. And then
That's
on top of that,
amazing.
he's got Customato, who's coaching him and coaching him on psychology. Like,
Yeah.
Customato was the guy who said, fear's like fire. It could be your friend. It can cook your food.
Yeah.
Or it could burn your fucking house down.
Yep. Fear is
I
like
don't think
fire.
he said fucking.
yeah.
I think I added
Fear
the
is like
fucking.
fire.
Yeah, that was his.
Yeah.
That was one of the phrases that Cuss would say, and to have Mike Tyson run into Customato right when he was maturing too. He's 13 years old, so he's physically maturing, and then he's with this real psychological wizard who's an amazing boxing coach, and he raises him to become one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. I mean, that movie.
Yeah.
I know they're doing a movie with Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is playing Mike Tyson.
That's amazing.
That's crazy, right? It's crazy.
That is amazing. Because Will Smith was the last, was Ali, right?
Yeah. He
So
did a
now
great job as Ali.
He did.
He did a great job.
I like that.
And you could tell he did a lot of boxing. Like, his hands look good.
Right?
His hands look
His
good.
hands look good the other night.
No, I think that needs some work. He didn't even stagger Chris Rock.
Everybody always says, you know why I hit Chris Rock? Because it wasn't The Rock.
Yeah, could you imagine? Come on, man. Come on.
Oh,
There's
man.
not a chance in hell. That was just so crazy. So crazy to do. Such a crazy thing to think you
Yeah.
could get away with.
You know what? I was actually, I know I got this whole governor thing going, so it's always, I always talk about it all the time, but I was actually filming a show. Nate Diaz came on, and Bam Bam Baklava.
Yeah.
He came on the show.
Action
and,
Bronson.
Yeah, Action Bronson, and this other comedian from Hawaii, Lanai, and it was called The Regimen, where we go around and so James Larice, he shot it for us, and they're trying to do something with it, but we would go around to all the different fighters and kind of just talk to them about their regimen for their life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what they do now, and sitting down with Nate, he gave me a lot of info. He was like, and he told me a lot of stuff. I go, how'd you get into this and that? And he was like, well, when my mom would let us go with her brother while she went to work, because the brother was a track and field coach at the gym that they were at, the Stockton or whatever, at the high school, and that's how they got into all that, conditioning, the Diaz brothers, crazy conditioning stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I never really knew about that, it's kind of generational, their conditioning, right? Well, it makes sense now after watching them beat everybody's ass in the 5th round.
Yeah, they were doing all kinds of crazy triathlons and cycling events and swimming from Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Nick swam back and forth. At the last time I was in contact with him, he said it was 5 times.
Wow.
5 times he swam from
I wouldn't
Alcatraz.
jump in that water.
Fuck that water. Dude.
Nick's
People
an
get
animal.
chopped in half in that water.
Right.
Yeah.
He was in Hilo. He was staying with me for a couple weeks in Hilo. He went down the Waipio Valley and stuff, and he was just trying to get his head right. And
First of all, what if you get run over by a boat?
any of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I know the odds are small, but don't the odds get greater as you
Right.
get closer and closer to the water? Or to the shore, rather? Like, if you
Right.
jump from Alcatraz and you go straight through, aren't there boats going through that? There's boats going through that, BJ.
I don't know how he wouldn't be scared of the sharks.
Fuck, man, what about the boats?
The boats, any of that. yeah.
I would be worried about some drunk dude who's
Right?
like playing Billy Joel down in Pabst Blue Ribbons, and he's going to butcher you with a fucking propeller.
Man.
Fuck that, dude.
Yep.
Captain Jack will get you. And runs right over you. I would definitely worry about sharks too, though.
Yeah.
But in that area is like a great white breeding ground.
That's what I mean. Nick's
Fuck
an animal.
that.
Nick's an
5
animal.
times.
He's an animal, that guy.
5 times, at least. That was the last time I
Wow.
was in contact with him.
Wow.
Because I said he did it 2 times, and he messaged me, nope, 5 times. I was like, oh shit, 5 times.
No, 5 times.
5. That means he did it 3 more times
Oh,
since the last
man.
time I heard about it.
Such a beast.
Yeah,
Such
him
a
and
beast.
his brother.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're gonna do with Nate. I wonder what's gonna be the comeback fight.
Right? Because he's talking about trying to get out and
Yeah.
right?
I think if they give him the right money, I think he'll stay.
Yeah, of course.
I think he'll stay if
course.
he wants to keep fighting. It's
Yeah.
whether or not he wants to keep
There's
fighting.
only one place for us to fight, and that's in the UFC.
What do you do? Man, is that good?
What?
Is it good that there's only one place to fight, or would it be better if there was like a real viable option outside? Like, you don't think Bellator's a totally viable option?
I think they were just in Hawaii this last weekend, and I had
Yeah.
a great time at the show. Of course.
You know who I think
course,
is right
Of course, I
there?
wish that there was people that they could. Remember, I went to K1 for a little bit.
Yes,
They were paying me big money.
Yeah.
They were paying
Yeah,
me
but I
big
was
money.
glad you came back.
Oh, I'm so happy I came
Yeah,
back.
when you came back, you went on a fucking rampage.
Yeah. And I saw a lot of people don't like when I won the lightweight belt. That was kind of towards the end of my career. That wasn't towards the beginning.
Right.
You know, kind of had like two or three kind of mixed up careers here and there.
There's guys over at Bellator that I go, man, that guy. Like, here's one, Musasi. Well,
Yeah.
I did not like
Musasi
Musasi.
and Stylebender.
Yes.
We want to watch that.
Fuck yeah.
We want to see.
I did not like watching Musasi go over to Bellator for that reason.
Yeah.
Because I knew Stylebender was so good and Musasi so good.
Yeah.
And, I think when I watch Musasi, I go, man, that guy might be the best.
Right?
He's up there. And when he was in the UFC, when he beat Weidman, he beat a lot of people. He's elite,
Yes. He can fight with Stylebender. I'm sure.
Well,
That's the fight we want.
It would be fascinating for sure. Like, it's a good it's an exciting matchup because he's a real veteran.
He really is.
Real veteran. Did
I
you see the
remember
Austin Vanderford fight?
Is that who he beat?
Yeah, he just
Okay, what, did
Paige
he
Van
wipe him
Zandt's
out?
husband. Yeah, he wiped him
out.
Wiped him out. He clipped him early, hurt him, rocked him, smashed him. He just buzzsawed him.
He was there from the Pride days.
He's been around a long time, dude.
Right? And he
Long
still
time.
seems pretty hungry, actually.
Still seems very hungry. I
Right?
think he's making good money.
You know what?
I think Bellator's taking care of him.
Right? Yeah, he's still got
Drives
his
me
hunger.
nuts.
you know who had the hunger forever was Bisping. And then he came back and won that belt.
Yeah. With
Man.
one fucking eye. We'll talk about have the hunger. Bisping fought 10 fights with one eye, BJ. 10 fights.
Bisping and Matt Serra was the two guys I called personally and said I wouldn't rather have anyone else be the champion than you guys.
That's
I
awesome.
loved it when Serra was the
awesome.
champ and when Bisping was the champ.
I was very happy for Michael because, that was like, it could have eluded him. He might have had to retire. The guy hung in there with one fucking eyeball. Like, I don't think people understand how
years,
crazy that is.
right?
Not just to fight with one eyeball, but fight in the UFC.
The best fighters. To fight
The best
Anderson
fighters.
Silva with one eyeball.
So he basically said everybody after that Vitor fight, he was blind in that eye. That Vitor fight, when Vitor hit him with that head kick,
Yeah.
from then on, his eye was fucked. Bunch of operations, never got his vision back. Now it's completely gone.
Once I got the cataract, I don't even know if I won since I got the cataract surgery 10 years ago, because I ended up getting a cataract.
Do you think is cataract something that you get just?
It's from fighting. Gotta be from fighting. It said like on the prednisone, like, oh, you could get a cataract, but I'm just like, and I was taking it at the time, but I think it's from getting hit in my eye.
For sure.
Yeah. And then I did a lot of acupuncture and stuff, and it brought my eye back. I could read and everything because it looked like a kaleidoscope at first for a while. It came back, I could read, but I didn't do as much. This part was the problem, I think, the
Close
depth
up?
perception.
Yeah. Oh.
And then, so this eye would be like that. So I'd kind of like try to use this eye and maybe I would square myself up. I don't know. But let's just say I got old and started getting my ass kicked. That's enough.
Well, the interesting thing is why I asked you, like, at what year you started to feel, like, how old you were when you started to feel the decline. What you said was indicative of, like, what we used to think of fighters. We used to think fighters hit, like, 33, 34, they start going downhill, 35,
Right.
36, 37, 38. You get to, like, 38, 39 as a professional boxer. Not a
Right.
lot of guys in that area. Not a lot of guys.
100%.
There's a few George Foremans. There's a few rare. Sergio Martinez was at one point in time. He was like fairly advanced in age and really good. But after you get like in the late 30s, it's like there's something going on clearly for most
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But for guys that were on the sauce, that's where it got weird because they could keep going.
Yeah, that's where it got weird, and that's where we got confused, and that's why I thought it was a career. I'm over here taking the light force, you know what I mean? And I'm in my 20s, and I'm gassing out, and everybody's still going. You know,
That is the difference. You fought natural. You fought natural at a time where very few people did, and we both know that. Without accusing anybody. It was just a fact.
We don't have to accuse nobody.
It was just a fact. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew there was certain camps that had even hired doctors that would make sure that you tested clean.
That's what I couldn't believe when the doctors started showing, oh, this is my doctor.
This is my
Doctors
doctor.
in the camp.
Yes. There was certain guys that had a lot of money, and they wanted to ensure that they had the competitive advantage. And they
Right.
thought about it the same way cycling teams thought about juicing up Lance Armstrong.
I remember when I was gonna fight Dennis Seaver, and I worked out and stuff, but I didn't care. I was just drinking, just hanging out. I show up to the fight. I didn't even care about it. It was towards the end of my career. I show up to the fight and I see Dennis Seaver and I go, hey, I'm gonna win. Look at him. He looks like he's done. We went to go to the weigh-in, and then he had a doctor, and the doctor did introduce himself. I'm the doctor for the team or whatever. And then, but I saw him and I was like, I'm going to kill him. I don't even care how I train for this fight. I do my flex and everything. When I walked into the ring, I couldn't even believe the guy saw on the other side, how much bigger he was. And I was getting older towards 38 or 40. And I wasn't afraid of nobody. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he looks a lot bigger, but let's go, let's do this. But just thinking, about all that, like having a doctor and all that. But I remember thinking at the weigh-in when I saw him, I said, I'm going to win. It doesn't matter how I trained. And then when I saw him in the ring, it was just two different people.
Did you not train as hard as you would have liked for that fight?
Towards the end, I guess it just...
You didn't have the enthusiasm?
Yeah, and you're like, hey, you could train real hard and lose, and you could not train real hard and lose. It just got, but we know... But you see how the brain changes. And I would say what changed is when I was a kid, this is all I wanted. All I wanted. And then I had those things. Now I wanted more. I wanted more cake. Come give me more. Come give me more. And
right.
You know what I mean? But but were you willing to do what it took, you know? and but even if I did, I mean, still I was older and these kids are younger, and
It just is what it is.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
I got no complaints either way. No matter what I did, no matter what happened, no matter any of the controversial stuff that ever happened in my whole career, I love everybody. I love everybody. I love everybody who punched me, everybody that let me punch them, all of my friends and foes.
Someone should do a special and just call it Prime, and look at the elite of the elite fighters in their prime.
In their prime.
Just only look at, I mean, whether it's Ernesto Hoost over in K1,
Yes.
or whether it's, you know, George St. Pierre when he was a welterweight champion. Like, look at people when they're in their prime. Look at you when you were the lightweight champion in your prime. Look at Anderson when he was middleweight champion in his prime. And just analyze how exceptional these performances were. And just do like a breakdown of the evolution of martial arts, of mixed martial arts, because it's one of the rare sports, PJ, where we were there. We saw it early on.
Right.
I mean, I watched my first one when I was 94, and it was at a video store. I got it at a video store like right after it came out. They released it as a video. I didn't watch it live, and it was like UFC 2. And then from then on, I've been watching.
I think that was the first fight I ever saw was Pat Smith sitting on and boom, 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 and
With
then
that
elbow.
ninja guy.
Yes.
Remember that guy was practicing like ninjutsu?
And we don't know much about him because he's a ninja. Isn't that what they said?
Yeah. Well, he was doing all these ninja warm-up moves
Scott
in like
Morris.
the video.
Scott Morris or something, right? Was it?
I think that was his name. I don't remember.
But that was wild. And I remember the elbow one.
Yep.
Because I talked to Remco on Instagram here
Remco
and
Pardue.
there.
Yeah.
And I go, hey, I think that might have been the first fight that I saw.
That was against Orlando Veit.
Yeah.
Remember Orlando Veit was a badass Muay Thai fighter.
He was,
that got
right?
into
Well, was
MMA.
he good? I didn't know
He was
about
very
him.
good.
Okay.
Yeah, very good
from
Muay
Europe.
Thai fighter.
He was a
Yeah.
Europe guy. Okay.
I think he was, I want to say Holland. I might be wrong.
Okay.
I don't remember, but he was a very good Muay Thai guy. And he looked great, but Remco got him in like
And he was huge,
judo
Remco.
side control. And just blasted him, yeah.
That was crazy.
Do you remember when Remco fought Marco Huas and Marco Huas got mounted and he just tapped? Because back then, everybody thought if someone mounted you, it was over.
Right?
Remember those days?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I forgot that he fought Marco.
Marco just mounted him and he tapped.
Was that when Marco kicked Paul Varlin's legs?
Yes.
The same tournament?
I don't know if it was the same tournament, but that was that era.
Remember Marco? They
crazy.
had 3 question marks on his age. Like he'd walk in,
All
they
right.
wouldn't say his
His age, you would tell he was vain.
Right?
Yeah, he looked like he stepped right off a beach.
Yeah,
Marco
yeah.
Huas, he had a perfect body,
Yeah,
perfectly tanned, beautiful man, big giant guy with huge fucking hands and huge feet. Marco Huas was the shit.
Yep, he was.
He
an
was the
animal.
shit.
He was
Look
one
at
of
him.
the.
Look
Yep,
at that. Come
look at
on,
him.
son.
Yeah.
With the Speedos.
Yep.
Get the fuck out of here, man. Marco Huas was the fucking man.
An animal.
Yeah, Marco Huas was the
and
man.
we all wanted to see him fight Hickson and all
Yep.
that, remember?
Yep. Well, he was the first guy that showed us that you could utilize leg kicks and stop a guy and chop him down.
We
He was
didn't even
really,
know that.
Yeah, he was really the first guy. And then Maurice Smith did it.
Oh, yeah.
Then we got to see, ooh, this is a real elite level kickboxer
And
doing
then
it.
Maurice survived against Coleman, won the decision,
Yes.
right?
I was there for that.
Wow.
Yeah, that was back when I was doing the post-fight interviews.
Okay.
I remember I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe when Maurice was talking to him while he was kicking him. He was like, ground and pound me, Mark. Come on, ground and pound me. Whack! Ground and pound me. And he was like moving from him. Whack! And Mark was like, motherfucker.
Right?
He just kept slamming him with those shins.
The jiu-jitsu guys came, then the wrestlers came, then
Yep.
the strikers came.
Well, the era of Mark Coleman, that was a big deal. Because
That
Mark
was.
Coleman was 265 and fucking
Animal.
jacked.
Animal.
When Mark Coleman entered the scene, everybody got bigger. Everybody gained weight. Everybody got bigger.
Yeah.
Everybody was lifting weights. You had to keep that fucking gorilla off you.
Yeah.
That was during the headbutts, no gloves days.
Man, Mark was telling me, Mark and Kerr, he was telling me, yeah, me and Kerr and Kevin, everybody were hanging out and we were all jacked and we were getting ready for the Olympic trials, and then we saw Kurt Angle walk in, and then we saw Kurt Angle jacked bigger than us, and then we all put our head down and knew we were done. They couldn't get one over on Kurt anymore.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Dude, guys like him and Dan Severn, those early
Right?
wrestlers, so
What about
important.
Severn?
Severn's still around. Severn has a podcast with Don Fry.
He seemed pretty natural to me, Severn. I mean, I don't know. I mean, as far as his
he
look,
seemed very natural. Very
you
natural.
know?
Yeah, I don't know either, but I don't think he ever took anything. I bet he didn't.
Hey, but he was a beast. He knew how to wrestle.
Fuck yeah, he did.
Right?
And he was the first guy we ever saw get tapped in a triangle. Remember?
Oh,
Hoist got him.
yeah. And then the first guy we ever saw tap from that, too. Remember
That's
when
right.
Coleman
got him.
He tried to dig his eyes and everything.
Yeah, Coleman got him in that judo side control.
Yeah. But imagine like jiu-jitsu,
Scarfold.
like a jiu-jitsu black belt versus a jiu-jitsu blue belt. Like that's how we would have to think that Coleman was so good at that time at wrestling that there was no way Severn would have been able to stop his takedowns. And
He was so good at wrestling, and he was ridiculously strong.
he was hungry.
And that was a no glove fight. So they were
Yeah,
fighting with
right?
No
It
gloves
was a
back
no-glove
then.
fight.
You could headbutt back then. It was very different. You wore shoes.
Mark
Guys wore
tells me
shoes.
till today, BJ, I never thought they'd take out the headbutt. I never thought in my wildest
Never thought
mind.
they'd take out the headbutt, bro. Yeah, he was the king of the headbutts because he would get on top of you, and your guard had to be on point because Mark was trying to smash you with his fucking forehead.
Yep.
And when you got a guy who's that big as Mark, with a neck like my waist, and he's just slamming into your fucking face with his forehead,
Man.
that doesn't hurt his forehead. It sure as hell fucks up all this shit, though. If he's headbutting your nose and your mouth, that's a real weapon.
265 coming at you, holding you against
Let me
the
ask you this,
fence.
BJ. Why is it okay to elbow someone in the face, but it's not okay to headbutt?
Yeah, it's
Like
just,
legitimately, I want to know.
I think it's for the people outside the ring. I
Fuck
think
those
it's
Fuck those people.
We're here to find out who's the
supposed
best.
To, not
We're
only
here
that,
to find out who's
we're
the
here
best.
to tell those people how it's supposed to be done. Like,
Yeah.
this is what the sport is. Stop
Yes.
pussying it up while they're still allowed to knee people in the face and shin people in the face and
Yeah.
elbow people in the face. It's crazy.
I think when the UFC came out, reality television was out and was big, and the UFC was the reality sport for the generation.
Yeah, it's
And it
perfect
worked
timing,
perfect.
right? Yeah, it
It
lined
was-
up perfectly.
It was really promoted on the internet, on those forums
Mm-hmm.
and all those different things.
Well, once the Ultimate Fighter broke out, and
Then it was done.
And that big fight between Stephen Bonner and
Yes.
Forrest Griffin in the finals were such a wild fight. And then
Yes.
everybody was calling their friends up. They said, I forget what the numbers were, but at one point in time, it was millions of people were watching it on Spike TV because people had called their friends and go, "You gotta watch this shit, it's crazy," and
Yeah.
that took the sport off, and that was
That is
2005.
that Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonner fight. It really did.
The
Is Spike
Ultimate
TV
Fighter.
dead? Is Spike TV dead now?
Spike TV's gone. Yeah,
Wow.
It was
The
I think it's
UFC left
They
and-
they changed it to the Paramount Network, right? And I don't know if that's still around, but it's a completely different format
Interesting.
than it was. And having that opportunity to get it on television and to do it through a reality show at the time where reality shows were at their peak was perfect.
It was.
It was perfect.
It was
just
perfect.
aligned, like the stars aligned.
And we were waiting for it all this time because, nobody knew that I beat Matt. After the Ultimate Fighter came out, then I'm walking down the road, hey, it's the guy that beat Matt Hughes. I'm like, nobody knew that for 5 years.
When was the first Matt Hughes fight? What year?
That was 2005.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when everybody got to know. Well, when you watch The Ultimate Fighter, one of the cool things about it is you got to see what like a camp of guys training together would look like.
Yep.
You got to see all the psychological dynamics that happen in camps and
And they were sleeping like in the same house and have
Yeah.
to eat food and then go fight each other.
they were fucking with each other's food and shit.
And that's all. It's the emotional
Yeah.
fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
That's what gets everybody.
Yeah.
Because you train for hours and you train thousands of hours for this 15 minutes. Why are you tired? How could you possibly be tired?
Yeah.
It's
your
your
mind. Your
mind.
mind,
Yeah.
anxiety. Betch Kohea just talked about that. She just retired, and one of the things she retired about was she's like the psychological burnout
Oh my God.
was so real.
The antidote for anxiety is confidence. And I wish I even knew this sooner, but when I would be in go to family court, I'm like, oh man, I just made a bad mistake. I hope I don't, have to get more supervision on my kids or anything. And I'd be so anxious and have anxiety to go to family court. And then I would tell myself, no, I'm going to win tomorrow. I'm going to win when I get in court. And it would calm me and relax me. So I just, the antidote for anxiety is confidence.
Yeah, but that works on you because you have a history of winning. I don't know if that works on everybody.
Someone who's never won before.
If you never won shit, you're like, I'm going to fucking win, bro. You're going to get knocked out. Like, get out of there. You've never won shit. That's the fucking brutal reality of life.
Right?
Like, it's not even. It's not fair.
Of those, like you said, and that's why Joe Rogan watches all those safari videos. Because that's the reality of life. And the animals, what's amazing is they don't feel sorry for themselves. They just sit there and they're just going and they're just doing their best.
You know what's different? Predators fight back. Predators are horrified when they're getting eaten. It's interesting. Like they react so much different.
They put their butt down because they don't want to get their balls bitten off, right? You always see them doing that, right?
Yeah. When you see a predator getting eaten by another predator, it's wild. I was watching this video the other day where a crocodile grabbed, I guess it was a jaguar. Jaguar or a leopard. I guess it was a leopard because it would have been in Africa. But a crocodile grabbed a leopard. And I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Right?
This thing thinks it's a cat running around there eating things, and it got a little too close to the water, and this fucking crocodile just leaps out, snatches it, and drags it into the water. It's wild.
That's crazy.
I watch that shit
I'm gonna
all
go Google
the time.
that. I'm going to go Google that.
Oh, maybe Jamie will pull it up. Well, maybe there's probably multiple. Yep, I think this is it.
He's trying to get that.
Yeah, he's trying to get whatever that dead thing is. Oh, that ain't it. It was a much bigger one. This is a leopard trying to steal its food. The one that I saw was it actually killed the leopard. It dragged the leopard into the water. It was a big crocodile, and the leopard was not that big.
Because even the lions go after the crocodiles, the alligators sometimes, right?
Yeah, look at that. Lions and the crocodiles. You might not be able to find it. What is that?
Yeah,
it's like a photo.
They'll kill you on land. They'll kill the crocodile on land.
Oh, yeah, they kill him. They sneak up behind him, and they get their back.
Jump on him, right?
Yeah, they get their back. See how he was eating that? Go back to that. Like, he was in the middle of eating it, and it flinched. Look, it moved. Oh, it's a crocodile. Took it from him. So what is that? Oh, that's like an antelope. I thought he was eating a crocodile. I was confused. That's such shit resolution. I couldn't even see what he was eating. That's all right. Don't worry about it. But the point was that this leopard had gotten too close, and this crocodile just snatched him right out of the river, and it was wild.
Yeah, that's the story of
real.
life. That's the story of life right there.
Do you think that, like, as a fighter, you experience life like in a different frequency than most people? Like the intensity of your life, particularly while you were the champion, particularly while you were on that reign of terror. Like, what was your reign of terror, if you had to give it like time frame?
I did, like, I felt like I've had two careers. One was when I beat Matt Hughes. Well, I fought Gomi and then took that to fighting Lauto Machida.
Yeah.
Then I came back into the UFC.
When did you fight Ludwig? Did you fight Ludwig during that same time?
Right before Machida, I fought Ludwig. And then I came back into the UFC, and that was my second career in the UFC.
But you were better. I mean, you were always wild, but you were even better. Like, you kept getting better and better. Like, up until like when I see like Sean Shirk fight and Diego Sanchez fight, I'm like, I put that BJ Penn up against almost anybody who's ever lived.
That's
hungriest. What I always say.
That was the hungriest.
You could see it in those days. There was those days where I want to say, I don't think there's an especially one, but the Diego was even more impressive because the pace you fought at. Because you had problems at some fights with endurance, and you had none in that fight.
Yes.
You had a wild pace, man.
Yeah.
And Diego, who's known for his fitness, was the one that was backing up constantly, and he was the one who was in trouble. And you just put it on him, man. That was a super. And one of the things that Steve Maxwell had said, he was the guy that trained Diego in strength and conditioning. He's an amazing strength and conditioning coach. He said that for certain fights like that, it's almost a bad thing to be in good shape because you're just going to get a beating longer. He said
There's a lot of truth.
A lot of truth. Because Diego was so determined to not go down. So has there ever been a dude who has more dog in him than Diego Sanchez?
I couldn't believe when I rocked him the first one and he went down and I hit him like, must have been 20 or 30 times as hard as I could. And then he got up. I was like, what? And I'm like, well, I'll just do this all night then, okay? Because you get nervous too, right? I can't believe you did that. Well, okay, let's just keep doing this.
Did you think, like, do you think at those moments where you really hit the gas, do you think, okay, now I got to back off? Or do you go, okay, this guy's still here, let me keep testing him? Or do you like try, like in that fight, you didn't have to worry about your fitness at all.
Only killer instinct is what you think. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna kill this.
That's why that strength and conditioning program for you is so important. Because you didn't have to think in any other way. You could just go for it. And you knew you had this crazy gas tank. And the skills are always there. The natural attack instinct is always there.
And it's almost more than knowing you have a crazy gas tank, just forgetting about tiredness or
Don't
whatever.
think about it. Yeah, you can
forget
just fight. That makes sense. Because during those days, but again, the Sean Shirk fight, I think, was in that league. You fucked him up when he was at the top of his game, too.
But like you said, I think the stressors that we have been through in our lives is takes us to a higher level. And I remember it was Gilbert Melendez's boxing coach. I met him through a couple other friends, Dr. Pete and different people, that he had a gym that it was for businessmen, but they did MMA training, and it was to up their thresholds of what they can take and what they can handle, whether it's giving up, I can't do it, quitting or sparring or whatever it was. And there's a lot to that. I think there's we have ups and downs all day, every day. But we've had some ups and downs in our lives, right?
Yeah.
All of us have. And being around martial arts and being in a stress situation and being able to push through. And coaches, there was this bill that they were trying to pass in Hawaii that would give coaches salary for schools instead of them just being volunteer. And it's true. We have to raise warriors. We have to raise people, because is the math teacher and the science teacher going to say, hey, come on, and inspire you and say, get up, you can bust through that line and you can do these things,
But there's a lot of value in the people that want to coach for free. I'm not saying they shouldn't be compensated, but if something is an amateur thing and someone can afford to coach for free, there's a lot of guys out there that really enjoy doing that.
100%, there is.
I'm not saying they shouldn't get money.
And those guys should still be around if they want to go in and add.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
There's obviously coaches that get paid. But man, it's when you're getting into a thing like MMA, it's such a big sport now. But when you get down to like the lower levels, like some shit is very bush league, like the way they match people up. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like you have to sell tickets. Like Bobby Green was explaining that shit to us. That you'd have to sell a certain amount of tickets in order to be able to fight. So like they give you like, BJ, you want to fight on my card? You'd have to sell like 50 tickets, but you got to go sell those. That's crazy.
Right?
That's crazy.
No, it is very bush league.
There's a lot of that shit out there.
There
and that's
is.
how guys...
And that's why we got to love the UFC.
Yes.
Right?
For sure.
They do.
For sure.
You might not have liked what you got paid, but you got your money.
Listen,
You're never going to say that you didn't get your money. They always give you your money.
Always. I had that very conversation with a coach about that today.
Yeah, that's a fact.
One of his fighters was talking about boxing, and he said, listen, you need to understand that the amount of people that get that big payday is very small. And you need to understand that a lot of these guys, they get into lawsuits. Like right now, Logan Paul still hasn't got paid from Floyd Mayweather.
Wow.
Mike Tyson had some real serious issue about his money. Roy Jones Jr. had some serious issue about his money. Like there's problems with boxing and money with the wrong promoters, right? You get with the right promoters, everything's smooth, develop a nice relationship. Like you never hear about Canelo not getting paid.
Yes.
Canelo gets fucking paid.
Right.
The Gypsy King gets paid. But there's some scumbags out there in all sports businesses.
I remember always hearing that about that in Japan. Like, BJ, if you're leaving UFC and you're going to go fight over there, make sure you get your money when you step into the ring.
Well, man, how about Bob Sapp? They didn't even let him sign a contract. He's like, I'm not fighting unless you give me a fucking contract. And they're like, fight first, then contract. And he was like, And so they canceled the headliner event. And Bob Sapp was fucked after that. It became a real problem.
But I remember me, Gary Goodridge, and Bob Sapp were standing in the back for K1 Heroes. And Bob Sapp is crying and nervous in the back because he didn't want to go out and fight. He was scared.
Wow.
And Gary Goodridge is like, come on, Bob. Get up, be a man. Get out there. Let's go. And I'm like looking at these guys. And these guys are 300 pounds. And I'm like... I wasn't scared. I was ready, I knew I was there. But it's just interesting, the different mindsets. And I was like, I wish I was as big as you, Bob. Imagine what would happen.
That's hilarious. Oh, my God. He was so big, too.
He was. He was a big guy.
He was big. But remember when Mirko Krokop knocked him out with one punch?
right?
Mirko Cro Cop is probably at least 100 pounds lighter than him.
Well, he's
and
another
KOs
guy
him.
too, where you got to say in his prime.
In his prime. Yeah, in his prime. Like when he knocked out
Crushed
Vanderlei.
people.
How about when he KO'd Vanderlei with that high kick?
Yep.
Holy shit.
Like certain fights, like Fedor, Cro Cop,
Yep.
John Jones, Cormier, like when the
Nogueira in his
yes,
prime.
the two top guys fighting. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't sit down and watch the Khamzat fight, but if I probably would have, like, because that's all I care about now. Like, okay, the two best in the world are going to be in the ring on that day. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe I'll come watch. If not, I don't watch like I used to.
Did Nogueira fight Fedor after he fought Bob Sapp? Because if that's true,
I think he fought him 3 times is why. I think
right.
he might have.
Did the first time did he fight him after Bob Sapp? Because the Bob Sapp fight was when he was the champion, right?
It took out of both guys, and there's a lot of truth to that when they say that.
Nogueira, the pile driver in the
Just,
beginning.
right? There's a lot of truth in the animal kingdom and in everywhere. If you're walking through the forest, why fight with the other toughest guy? You guys are both not going to be the same after.
Yeah.
Even if you win, and there's just
Right.
go eat the little animal over there. Why
Right.
why is the jaguar going to go fight the panther or whatever?
Because he wants to spread that seed.
Yeah, that too.
Wants his babies to
Right.
survive.
That
Yeah.
too.
That's what's fucked
But
about
you got to
animals.
choose on the right day.
Animals, they have a ruthless system. When the male animal conquers, he kills all the babies that the other male
Yeah.
left behind.
Right?
That's what's wild. Like they know what they're doing. They're trying to protect their genetic heritage,
How
and that's
do-
the competition. Just
How
like
do they know that? Yeah.
BJ, I don't think it's much different than the competition to be the lightweight champion. I think it's the same kind of thing.
How did BJ know he wants to be the light? How did
But
BJ
you
know
know
he
what
has
I'm
to
saying?
kick all of their asses to get the belt?
Like-
Same way.
Like imagine if you have a Pride Alliance. That's your community. That's your world, right?
Uh-huh.
Your world is the United States and the rest of the world that can watch you fight. But the people that are, or the things that are watching a lion fight are just the other lions.
Yeah.
So there's a certain amount of lions, and one decides he's the motherfucker.
Yeah.
And so he has to attack the other lion. And then maybe lions jump in and help him and kill the old lion, and then he takes over the throne. And then he has to control that situation. And the first thing he's going to do is kill that lion's babies.
Right? Yep.
Just run around, kill all his sons.
Because they will grow up like every
Yeah.
movie that we've ever watched.
Yep.
They will grow up and kill you.
The
if you
male,
don't.
unless it's his babies, it doesn't have a chance.
Yeah.
His babies are the only ones.
Yep.
He does not want any other male babies around. It's
It's
ruthless
amazing.
shit. Nature's
Yeah.
so ruthless.
And he's not going to be like the stepfather.
Nope.
You know, my daughter tells me the other day, Dad, a stepdad is a man who stepped up. I go, you're right. Stepdad's a man who stepped up.
Yeah.
You know, but that's not going to be the lion's
Not in the
job.
lion world.
Yeah,
There's
not
no
in the
step to fuck all that Lion King shit. They're ruthless.
Right?
They're so ruthless.
They are.
Have you ever seen a lion's head up close? You're like, "Wow, it's so big.
Right?
Yeah. It's so big. It's so much bigger than you think it
You
is.
know what? You're making a good point talking about that. You ever seen a lion's head up close?
They're so big, BJ.
Amazing.
They're so big. It's such a big animal.
And what is it? He's not the biggest animal in there. He's not the fastest. He's not the biggest because that's the elephant. Not the fastest. 'cause
Yeah.
but his mind.
He's the enforcer. He's the enforcer, and
but he's
that's
the
what's wild
toughest.
is that the females are running. It's really the only animal that you can point to where the females do the majority of the hunting.
Yeah, right. That's
Right?
They go off and they go and hunt.
Because with wolves, they all hunt together, but they all hunt like males hunt, females hunt. They all
Uh-huh.
hunt, but not with lions. The females
He
hunt.
just relaxes.
He just hangs back and waits. He just waits.
When it's time to come to visit
Yeah.
my bedroom, then you guys come back with the food, and I'll be sitting right.
Well, it's
in-
also the fighting thing. That's why he's got all that fur. That crazy mane is to protect his neck. That's
right?
what that's for. To protect his neck, give you a mouthful of hair before you can get to his jugular.
Right.
Which is so crazy.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And it's an amazing world we live in.
It's an amazing world. But it'd be better if people had more rights. It'd be better if people weren't fucked with by the government, right, BJ?
Yeah, and people always say, "What's your platform? What's your platform?" And we want less government. We want less taxes. We want less regulations. For
Did you just say recreational marijuana? That's what I heard.
I'm
Did
not
you say
against
it?
recreational marijuana.
I'm for it.
Yeah, I'm for
Yeah.
marijuana. I'm for hemp also.
But you know what else you're for? Discipline and hard work. And those are the two
Yes.
things that get thought of as mutually exclusive. People want to think of like potheads as being lazy. It's not
Yeah.
true.
No,
It's not true. It's not true.
This isn't the land of handouts. It's the
Right.
land of opportunity. And that's what we're here.
But what marijuana's benefits are is it's great for inflammation. It helps a lot of people sleep. It makes people nicer. It makes you think about things in a different way. It makes you maybe reconsider the way you're behaving or the way you're acting or what
Yeah.
you're about to do or not about to do. Makes you think like maybe I need to fucking get on the horse and get going. I need to do something with my life. I'm starting to freak out.
You're right about
Makes you
that.
think.
You're right about that.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
And we need to stop treating grown adults like they're children and capable of making their own decisions. And that's what it is when the government tells you that you can't take something that's never killed anyone ever. And
Yeah.
a lot of people find beneficial. If so many
Yes.
people find it beneficial and you don't even use it, how are you informed
Right.
and wise enough to tell grown adults what they can and can't do with something they enjoy that you have no personal knowledge of?
100%.
And something that it's very difficult to study because it was a Schedule I drug. It is a Schedule I drug.
I am for recreational marijuana, and I believe it could really help our economy over there.
I hope that the federal government fixes that. That's what I hope. I really do. I know that it was, what did they pass it through the House and now it has to go to the Senate? Is that what it is?
It could sit there for a long time, though.
How long could it sit there for?
Yeah, they don't have to vote on it, I don't think.
Not if Governor Penn gets involved. He's gonna be running up the stairs of the Capitol, raising
Right?
his fist in the
What's
air.
what's
Getting shit right.
we always laugh and say what law is more powerful, the state or federal? Whoever pays for it. Whoever paid for that. Who paid for that? You know?
What do the advertisers want?
Right.
Yeah, we just got to get the advertisers on a good path. Get all the advertisers doing things that are only beneficial for people.
But that's what we need to do over there in Hawaii, because it's a bankrupt state, and that's when you're going to stick your hand out, and that money that we get from Washington, that comes with whips and chains. You want to be able to have your option to, that's why you want your economy. You want your economy strong, and you want your surplus up there, and we want to pull it out of a welfare state. Hawaii's been a welfare state all this time, and we want to.
Does that involve bringing industries to Hawaii? Like, how do you account for like jobs for all those people in a sort of a self-sustaining way? Is that possible to engineer?
We need some new industries. We need some things.
Because there's a lot of tourism.
Tourism is everything right now, and like I said, the planes come in and they don't leave with anything.
Right, they don't leave with anything.
So we need, we need stuff to export, and we got to get our farming situation handled too, because every time a new hurricane comes in and all those things, and then they tell everybody, get down and fill up your groceries, buy everything at the grocery store, buy all the gasoline you can, and and then where everybody's panicked.
Do you know there's a wood that I think only comes from Hawaii?
Is it sandalwood?
Yeah, I think it's koa.
Oh yeah, koa.
I think that's only in Hawaii, which is wild.
Yeah, koa
See if
tree.
that's true. Is that true that it's only in might
I
have
think
been
it's a
somewhere
native tree.
Polynesian?
I think it's a native tree.
Pretty crazy. If you
Yes.
think about like a tree that exists only on this one island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
Right here it is. The
Endemic.
species Acacia koa only grows. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Acacia koa only
A koa tree.
grows only in Hawaii and no place else in the world. Sure,
Yeah.
other species of the acacia family grow in other parts of the world. Oh, but none of them are koa.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing
How Hawaii
because
had all of these
Yeah.
different endemic things.
it is
over there.
amazing, and that they developed on
They
top
have
of
a lot
volcano.
of trees and a
Yeah.
lot of things, a lot of birds and different things.
How did the seeds for those trees and all those native plants? How'd they get there? You think they got there from birds? How'd they get to that? Because the
I don't
island had to
know.
come out of the ocean, right?
Right,
From the volcano.
or was it bigger and the waters were lower during the ice ages? It makes you wonder, because they've never found the full like Polynesian voyaging canoes and any of those stuff. They kind of just kind of made it off of like paint, like petroglyphs and stuff, and they're like, oh, here's the Polynesian canoe, here's how they had it. But Captain Cook never seen those. But I don't want to get into big arguments with all the people, because that's what they say. That's how they came over, right? They came across the ocean, were the best sailors, and then the story in Hawaiians for their myth or whatever is that then they burned the boats later, and everybody got stuck there, and then they couldn't leave. One of the priests made them burn the boats, for power and control, or who knows. We just don't know what happened. No, I mean, I'm Native Hawaiian. My mother's half Native Hawaiian, but I mean,
What
we don't
year?
know.
What year do they think Hawaiians, Polynesian people landed there?
I think they think like 1,000 years ago type thing.
Just 1,000 years ago?
Yeah. I gotta be. What does it say on Google? When did the Hawaiians get to Hawaii?
First settled as early as 400 CE.
Whoa.
So,
But some of the Hawaiian words in our language, like you got amor in Spanish is love, and then you got amor in Portuguese, and then you got
Right.
aloha,
Yeah.
and you got ali'i is chief, and I just think ali'i, well, that's the elite or whatever. And you just see so many words that look like Latin, and it's just, but it's one of the oldest languages or whatever. But it's just weird. Just our whole thing is just, life's just weird.
I wonder if this estimate of 1,500 years or whatever it is has been substantiated, or if it's like a rough guess based on artifacts that they've already discovered. Because it's one of those things where they keep finding, like in North America, it used to be Clovis first. They used to think that the Clovis people were the first people that got
Who are
here.
the Clovis?
The Clovis were an ancient group of hunter-gatherers that lived here, and they're identified by a sophisticated style of point, the Clovis points, and it comes from a specific era that they think these people came through. But now they've abandoned that, and they think there are people here far before the Clovis people, way before, thousands and thousands of years.
Well, I remember I was reading something, and it was like Russia was the biggest, and then they went to make a new Moscow, so they went over through Alaska, and then you say Moscow, then you say Moscow, then you say Mexico, and Mexico City was this whole thing. But I love history. I love reading through all that stuff.
But what you're saying is that if people had been on Hawaii since the Ice Age, so if we're going back 12,000 years ago, right? If people got there, because there were people around back then. At that point in time, the levels of the sea would have been way lower.
You would
because
think.
there's way more. No, it's a fact. They
Right?
know that for
and
sure.
Maybe it would have been as hard to miss.
But I
Maybe
don't know if that area, like, I wonder how close ground would be to that area. Like, if the sea levels were far lower because of the Ice Age, which they definitely were, I wonder how much water you'd have to traverse to get to Hawaii.
To get to exactly, was it big like
wonder.
Australia?
I wonder.
How big was it when
Right.
the waters were low?
Right.
Because how did they find it? Just a little space in a little place in the middle of nowhere.
I wonder when it came about. Like, when do they think Hawaii came out of the ocean?
That's another good one.
What year would you think it would be?
I mean, that's when they talk about the Earth
gotta
being
be
millions of
old.
years old.
It's got to be old.
Was Hawaii when the waters were lower? Was Hawaii
Yeah.
something like in Australia, another continent over there? Because it's still the most isolated place as far as from everywhere
Distance
else
to shore. Yeah. It really, what we're saying here is very interesting, because if it turns out that Hawaii is millions of years old, which I think it is, and then if it turns out that this was like pre-Ice Age when the sea levels were very, very low in comparison to what they are today, I wonder how much difference it was.
right?
Because if there was people back then and there
Yeah.
was people traveling back then,
Yeah.
I wonder what it was like.
And they track our language all the way to like Taiwan, to the natives of Taiwan, like Austronesian, and it's kind of like the Asians came down, and then the Aborigines were here, then the Asian and Aborigines mixed up and turned into the Polynesians.
Wow.
And, right, with the big nose,
Yeah.
but the eyes
Yeah.
like this, but the big nose and the curly hair, and then they all came across,
And so many warriors. That's another thing. Think about how many fighters have come out of Hawaii.
Oh man!
How
right
many?
from Max to Yancy, I was
Yep,
just watching him
yep.
fight the other night, and Chemo, me, and
yeah.
everybody, and that's why Hawaii is so big for their sports. We gotta get our stadiums going again. We're gonna talk about
Even
we wanna
Ensign and Egan.
Ensign and Egan, beast,
Right? Yeah.
Those are the OGs. Those are the guys who
OGs.
let us know we could
Shout
do
out
it.
to the Inues.
Yeah. Oh, I love those guys.
love
I just
those
saw
guys.
Egan the other day. But Ensign going out, he armbarred Randy Couture.
Yes.
He fought in the UFC. I remember watching.
Remember he was throwing those kicks off his back?
Yep.
And you're like,
he was.
"Ooh."
Yep. He was amazing. And I remember he fought Royce Alger. Remember
Fuck
that
yeah.
one? He
I was
fought
there for that.
Yep. Royce Alger.
Yeah,
And
he broke
was
his
the
arm.
guy. Ensign was the guy who let me know that, hey, people from Hawaii, we can do it. We can get in there. We can fight.
Wow.
And they're such heroes, all of them.
Yeah, man.
So
Wasn't
many.
Dennis Alexio from Hawaii too?
Well, he moved to Hawaii, but he was there fighting and kicking
When he was world
everybody's butt.
champion
Yes,
kickboxer.
the Terminator.
Yeah.
And I met Egan when I was a kid. He was the world racquetball champion.
That's right.
My uncle played racquetball, and we all went to a place called Fort DeRussy, a beach area, and Egan competed in the tournament and wiped everybody out. And
wasn't he like didn't he hold a world record at one point, or some kind of a record for free diving, holding
that
his breath?
that too.
Yeah.
And he would just break the balls. When he'd hit the ball, he'd break the ball. Yeah, he's like surfing, and he's
Nice.
whatever he wants to do, he's gonna be the best at it. That's Egan.
Nice. Yeah.
Always.
Well, BJ, it's been an honor to have you in here, man. It's always been cool to be your friend, and respect. And as a fan, thank you very much for all those years of amazing, amazing fights. And I really sincerely believe that you want to do well for the people of Hawaii, and I think it would be amazing if you could pull it off. I think it'd be fun.
Thank you,
and,
Joe.
Just good luck in everything you do, brother.
You too, my man.
All right.
Proud
Thank
of
you.
all your success
Thank
myself.
you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.